Hey, buddies, it's the Bennington Show live on a Wednesday. I'm Ron Bennington. There's Gail Bennington.
Yo.
And I'm Ron Bennington. You know, starting the show off today, just want to say, well, let's make the kids guess who picked the song. Joey Jojo?
Gail Bennington.
Tito?
Ron Bennington.
Here comes the tiebreaker.
I know how much Ron Bennington loves the Talking Heads. It was Ron Bennington.
Today, it was picked by...
It was picked by me, Gail Bennington.
Damn it.
You guys, come on.
Chris, what about the fact that I said to you, what is the song we're playing? Because I was late coming up the elevator.
I thought you were fucking with me.
Why would I do that? Why would I ever fuck with you?
He's a
Fish
serious
barge?
man. He's a serious man.
Yeah, serious XM
He
man.
doesn't play mind games,
No.
Chris.
You know what? That's John Lennon's trick. That ain't for me, dude. I ain't playing mind games all day.
I'm overthinking this whole thing.
You are overthinking it.
You
Which
really are.
never gets said about you. I'll let you know how much it doesn't get said. Well, I'll just go over to Joe first. Joe, read out your the guy who paid parking tickets with pennies. Read that headline. Kind of curious about what happens here.
I'm going to be honest. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He can't find it. We all know it. Can you find it, Joe?
Yeah, I found it.
What did you write?
Any man pays parking ticket with 22,000 pennies.
Now, what would you mean by any man?
I don't know.
All right, so now let's go over to let's go to Fish Barge. Fish Barge, go ahead and read your Donald Trump gorilla story headline.
Oh, no. Oh, no. This isn't good.
These are fucking headlines.
As much as I'm enjoying this, I'm afraid I'm next.
Everyone should be. First of all, Chris wrote to me today, myself and Gail will be calling this person.
Proper.
Yeah, go ahead.
Donald Trump feels that gorilla should have been killed.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Read it nice and slow.
Donald Trump feels that gorilla should have been killed.
Still don't get it?
No.
Should have
Oh, goddamn!
been killed.
Fuck!
You know who used to be on that constantly to let me know? GVAC. And it was almost twice a week
Oh, no.
that he would just write, that centaur son of a bitch.
You cannot teach yourself
I
that.
can't break myself.
I don't know why, because you've had your balls busted about it maybe once a week, if not more, since I've known you.
How about when he just acted like he was being formal by saying myself and Gail?
Myself and Gail will be making the call this afternoon.
You know, you wouldn't even write me and Gail.
Oh, see, I thought myself and Gail was like the right way to say it.
How does everybody have a college education? I was a shop major.
Even if you threw out an I,
I and Gail.
Gail
Myself
and I.
is now stricken from my vocabulary.
It's not just myself.
No,
you
it's
don't
not
leave
that.
it either, dude.
It was just a strange. It doesn't sound like you more than anything.
I hate to say something. You say you're not getting high?
No.
You got Mongolian eyes today. You look like a Mongol. You have got, I don't know what's going on with you.
I am sober. I swear.
Then why is the eyes like this?
I don't know. It's very bright out.
Well, we're not out, dude. We're inside.
It's residual.
If I was a cop, I'd take him in on suspicion. And I'd get him to crack.
Yeah. Oh, he sings like a bird, that Chris Stanley. He'll give you any information.
No.
Myself and my lawyer are throwing in the towel. That gorilla story is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Chris was yelling about it yesterday.
Yeah, because there was no reason to kill this gorilla. None.
Look, here's the thing. I know that the internet is very upset. Look,
Down to-
everyone's upset.
Look,
Is
down
it-
to the point where they're blaming the dad because he's got a criminal past, even though he wasn't there. The mom is being called all kinds of names.
The mother, from what I can tell, is mostly about her whorishness that could
Right.
allow her child to do this. What, this dumb slut let her kid fall in? So what? Kid should be dead, not the gorilla. Look, I'm sad that a gorilla had to die. It stinks. But the call was made for a reason. Because if that gorilla started to maul the child, then you would have a dead child, and then they would have shot the gorilla then. So then you would have a dead gorilla and a dead baby.
The people I'm
Watch
most...
this thing pull. Watch him pull the kid.
It's so intense.
I love the fact that they say, well, the gorilla was trying to guard the kid. It's a male gorilla. It doesn't have any maternal feelings.
In fact, like years ago, this might have been like in the 80s, maybe early 90s, there was a similar thing that had happened. And it was a female gorilla, and she picked up the baby, cradled the baby, and then even was like trying to fight off male gorillas.
Right.
I think, look, you can't risk it. That's why. It's a horrible circumstance.
I didn't even know that this could be debated. There's a baby in the gorilla cage.
Yeah.
You shoot the gorilla.
Yeah,
by the way, the people who shot the gorilla love gorillas.
yeah.
These aren't great white hunters going through Africa on a $22,000 gorilla
In fact,
trip.
they probably had a relationship with said gorilla.
Yeah, they probably said, I can't believe it. I shot Pete.
This zoo death squad was waiting for a
You're
chance.
just trying to be a funny contrarian.
No.
Bullshit. You don't believe that for a second.
I would probably agree with you, except for this is what everybody is saying
I
on the
know.
internet. Celebrities are coming out.
What celebrity? Rappers?
You know that Cuckoo Kaylee?
Oh, yeah, Kelly Cuckoo. I love her.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Cuckoo.
Yeah, it's Cuckoo. Cuckoo Kelly.
I know Ricky Gervais had a little something to say because he's very animal.
Look how the gorilla, people are saying, oh, he's trying to save him. He's taking his lunch into the shade.
No.
This is where I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
And then the gorilla just stands the kid up and protects him because all these people were just gawking over the
Protect him or keeping him for himself. There's no way to know. They're not gawking. They're looking at a baby.
They're crying and they're not laughing at him.
I can't believe how freaked out that this kid must have been that a gorilla had a hold of him.
Yeah. And then, like, people are trying to say that he stood the child up and picked up his pants. Well, a gorilla doesn't understand shame. So I don't think he's like, oh, we don't want your little hiney out. Look, I'm not saying, look, maybe he wouldn't have attacked and killed him, but you cannot risk it when you have the life of a human 3-year-old in there.
Yeah.
It's a sad set of circumstances. And I love that people are bringing up his mother neglected him, so therefore he should die. Like, normally in any other circumstance, you would think that child, nobody's saying he should be taken away from the mother. They said this gorilla should live and he should die for having a neglectful mother.
Do you know what I would like to just say? These are like the same people who don't care if a guy gets shot on the corner somewhere. And I don't want to draw the same comparisons myself.
Yes, it's something.
Oh, God, look when he takes off. I mean, it's like a water slide.
It's pretty intense.
Looks fun almost for the kid. I mean,
you're just being a funny contrarian.
Why not just pump this gorilla full of tranquilizer darts? Pop in the head.
There's a reason, because they had that exact thought, and in the moment they said the tranks aren't going to work fast enough, and it's going to first agitate him, and that could make him get even more angry and rip a baby's head off.
Chris, how are you when you start doing tranks? First thing.
I feel great.
I would not like to be in enclosure with you.
I just don't believe. First of all, I hear Chris laughing to his things. He's just being contrarian. What do you call it, guy? There's not a thinking person who would say, don't shoot the gorilla. And guess what? It's somewhat tragic to shoot that gorilla. This is a gorilla that's already being kept in a weird cage.
Of course, yeah.
You know, he's not in his natural habitat. This was a fucking accident. And if you choose between an animal and a kid, you take out the animal.
Yes.
It's that simple.
Just like if your child was in there and there was an animal and they were near your child, you would shoot that animal.
Some of these people
do.
are the same kind of people. If their kid's locked in the car, they're not going to break the window. They're just fucking trying to get by on everything.
It's a nice car. The car never did anything wrong.
All right, 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. I don't believe anyone's going to be on Chris Stanley's side. I believe that under any kind of truth serum, Chris Stanley would admit that he's lying, that you wouldn't risk a children's life with an 800-pound gorilla. And thinking that this isn't Pixar. That gorilla's never going to be good.
Yeah.
That's it. End of stories. All right, look, there's Hard Rock Johnny. Johnny.
Hey, Danny.
Benningtons.
Hey.
I was hoping that this would come up today. I don't understand. They're investigating the family. I mean, how do you not choose the kid? I mean, what if I just don't understand. And I get people are, animal activists and people think that, the animal should be protected. But what about humans being protected?
Look, I like animals, and I put gorilla right up there with one of my favorite animals.
They're cool. They're really cool.
They're great. But there's a kid in there with a dangerous gorilla. You gotta stop that situation.
And no matter who's protecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is another one that I've seen. And by the way, I've seen tons of people on social media, 98% of them agreeing with Chris. That it's everywhere. And one of the things is they're like, dumb kid falls in the thing.
Yes, it's a dumb kid who fell in the thing.
Darwinism at its best.
Yeah,
that's psychotic.
Right.
And not true.
I can guarantee that if you ask any of these people who are saying that the gorilla should have been saved, if any of them have a kid and it was their kid and they had to choose, how many of them do you think would really choose to kill the kid, not the gorilla?
Well, here's the thing.
You don't choose to kill the kid.
You are killing the kid.
Chris, you said you'd put a bullet in that kid so he didn't suffer.
No!
You did, Chris. Here's the thing.
Put words in my mouth.
The people who shot the gorilla are experts at gorilla behavior. They're not going to sit around going, maybe the gorilla wants to be friends. They're like, I fed this gorilla every day for 20 years and he'd still kill me. This is what it isn't the gorilla's fault. The gorilla is acting like a fucking gorilla. Now, if it fell into the alligator pit, you're not going to shoot an alligator?
You tranquilize an alligator?
No.
Well, then you have to shoot the alligator.
This is the same fucking story. You just don't think an alligator is as cute. That's all.
Gorilla's a lot more rare than an alligator. That's why the gorilla's in the goddamn
So this
zoo.
is what your problem is, the rareness of the animal.
That's one of the problems.
We've got tons of humans, not enough gorillas.
By the way,
screw the humans.
Right. They're the same fucking people that don't want to let a woman make a choice when she's pregnant, yet they're willing to make the choice with a 4-year-old child. You're all fucking nuts. And none of you assholes cry when some guy gets choked out in Staten Island or fucking Captain Ferguson. But if a gorilla gets shot to protect a child, anything that anyone who works at the zoo is like, yeah, of course we shot.
Yeah.
There was a fucking baby in there. Why are we talking about this? And you're saying that the internet is exploding. Where they show that there's that statue of the gorilla and people lay flowers, they're like 4 flowers. People say shit on the internet to get a rise out of people. They don't mean it. All right. Talk to you later, Juddy.
Later.
Hey, Tim, Illinois. Tim.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, you're like 1,000 times right. Another thing that you're saying, though, is if that kid would have just, started to walk away and would have stumbled and startled that guy, man, he would have just popped his head off before they could have done anything.
Yes, these are gorillas acting like gorillas. Look, my favorite gorilla of all time is the one from Beverly Hillbillies who used to wear the Hawaiian shirt, smoke the cigar, has sunglasses and a hat. So I grew up loving gorillas. You're not going to say anything bad about gorillas to me. But this is an open and shut case.
Also, let's just think about this. Let's think about, you remember years ago when that woman befriended a chimp and then that chimp turned on her friend and ripped her face off?
Literally. And all her fingers.
Yes. A gorilla is a lot stronger and a lot more dangerous than a chimp. A chimp is a fraction of the size, and look at the strength, and look at how that was a chimp who liked humans and was around humans. His only interaction is with a couple zookeepers who feed him, and that's it. That he could have had any reaction. It's terrible that he got shot, but a child could have died very easily and very quickly.
You just don't risk it. Gerard, what's up? Gerard.
Yes.
Go ahead, buddy.
That's okay. Oh, am I on?
Yeah, buddy,
ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my thought on it is that, although they had to take the gorilla out, and I, as much as I love animals, I agree that it was necessary. The thing that you couldn't control was the fact that, people were there, they were watching, they got the gorilla upset, and because apparently when this whole situation started, the gorilla was over, and it appeared that he was, trying to protect the child. And then the crowd, it kind of fed on the emotions of the crowd. Everybody got worked up. And that's why the tranquilizers wouldn't work. I think they made the best decision because
they made the only decision. And yes, they couldn't control the crowd. They couldn't control the gorilla. No one knew. Let's face something. If there was a 2% chance that the gorilla would kill him, you kill the fucking gorilla. You try to give the child a 100% chance of living. For people to act like they know that they could look at this gorilla and know whether it was trying to protect a child or not is insane. That's you putting your emotions and thoughts on a gorilla. You're a different species. We don't know what they're trying to do.
I love how many people I've seen on social media who are sudden gorilla experts.
Yeah.
Like, that when a gorilla gets into this position, he arches his back in such a way that is a protection pose. And I'm just like, since when did you know this?
I know.
This is not something you know.
First of all, these are the same people who watched Trading Places and thought that gorilla would fall in love with the dude in the gorilla suit and then started having anal with him in a cage.
Same people.
Yeah, same exact people. Darren, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, my opinion, didn't nobody see the fact that the kid was a badass little kid? Can I cuss?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. He's a bad little fucker.
Yeah.
And he said to his parents that he wanted to go down there with the gorilla. So I say instead of shooting the gorilla, shoot the kid.
But here's the thing, dude. A kid at that age could say, I want to wash my hair in fire. We have to stop that from happening. Kids are morons. They're as dumb as gorillas. You had two dummies down there, but one of them is a human.
Yeah.
No one's going to shoot a kid.
It stops that dummy gene when you get rid of the kid. There's one less dummy growing up that's going to have another kid that's going to say,
Darren,
hey,
there's plenty of people saying that about you right now. There's plenty of people listening saying, we ought to shoot Darren. He's talking like a dummy. But we don't go around shooting dummies in this country. We just don't do it.
Well, see, here's the thing. I have enough smarts to stay out of a gorilla cage and not go down.
But you're also not a 3-year-old.
Yes. 3-year-olds, they
Even
run
at
into
3
traffic
years old.
as hard as they can. Einstein, seriously, at Einstein at age 3, probably would have fucking put his dick in a pencil sharpener because he's stupid because he's 3. There's not a lot of fucking kids that are 3 that you say is a genius. It just doesn't happen that way, Darren.
Yeah, but I didn't do that at 3, and I've been to a zoo.
I don't know, Darren. I don't know if you can remember how it was for you. I'm going to be totally honest here. You would never make it as a lawyer. The judge would be throwing this case out right now. All right, let me go to a world famous comedian, Mr. Tommy Johnagin. Tommy, what's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Darren makes some good points. I've never heard of him doing that. First of all, I can't believe Chris Stanley said he wants to see this kid ripped apart on video.
I don't want to see the kid murdered. I think they should both be alive.
You go on the fucking dark web so you can watch shit like this.
I've never seen this happen on the dark web.
I got a buddy, his girlfriend works at this zoo, and I know that they have bears and lions. I don't understand why we're not sending in another animal before we start.
All right. This ain't Jurassic Park, where you can get the raptors to attack the big animal.
They got a Chris Pratt guy down there. He's got a hand signal going on.
I would, seriously, I only wish that the kid was killed so other people could blame the zookeepers for not shooting the gorilla. And it would be the same people. Ricky Gervais would be outraged.
It's either shoot that gorilla or find someone to pick up a bunch of pieces of a baby.
Yeah. Let me tell you right now, these gorillas will just start jerking off as you're watching them anyway. I mean, they don't think.
They go on impulse.
They go on impulse, is right. You would not want to get in an elevator if there was already a gorilla in there. You would leap out and say, I'm going to wait for the next car.
This kid was in this pit for 10 minutes with the gorilla. If he was going to kill the kid, he would have killed him in 10 minutes.
First of all, you don't know that at all.
I want you to go in a pit with a gorilla for 10 minutes, and we decide whether or not we're going to put that gorilla down.
It looks like they debated it for 10 minutes. But by the way, I remember back at Waco when we burned up that place with all the children in there. 90% of the Americans said, good. I'm glad we did it. And we're like, why? And they said, well, they were molesting those kids inside of that Waco building. People would rather that a kid would be burned up than molested. And by the way, to this day, no one's ever proved that there was any molestation. But the thing you want to do is look at the dumb American public and then go, all right, looks like the other answer is pretty obvious. All right, Tommy Johnagin, when are you coming back to the East Coast, buddy?
I gotta figure out time, hopefully soon.
All right.
I took an LA thing. I'll be in LA for a few months working on a show.
I bet you will be. I bet you will be.
Right? I bet I will. I'll see you, buddy.
All right, talk to you later. Bye. I hope he gets 10 shows. I hope that guy gets... I hope there's 100 shows on, all starring Tommy Johnagin. Then
Me
I'll
too.
finally be able to relax. If I managed his career, I would go to NBC and go, I have 100 show ideas. And they go, yes. And I go, they all star Tommy Johnagin. Tommy Johnagin yells at the neighborhood kids. Tommy Johnagin. One of the things is Tommy Johnagin fires his lawn guy. I bet would be one of the funniest shows you ever watched.
I would love that.
And Tommy Johnagin lets a kid dive in with a gorilla. You're not going to just send 2 polar bears in, Tommy. I feel like this can be handled.
I like that he's just taken the plot of Jurassic World, though. It was very smart. I watched it over the weekend, by the way. I didn't see it in the theater.
I did the same thing.
I watched it.
Really? I watched it too. No shit.
Well, because it's on HBO.
Yeah.
Now that it's free.
The thing is, I watched it with my boyfriend, and he fell asleep 10 minutes in, and I was riveted. And then, it just kept on being like this. Pterodactyls. Hey, wake up. Look at the raptors now. Oh no, he's still sleeping.
This is always my favorite.
I just didn't want to enjoy it by myself.
Favorite part of anything is like when something like really bad happens, that they'll play the Jurassic Park theme like really slow when they're just trying to get some sleep. Bum, 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 bum. And almost makes you want to cry. It's just like, oh, that's the theme we all love, but so sadly played. It just makes you nostalgic.
It's not as hopeful as when they first get to the island.
Curtis in Texas. We're always in a good mood then. Curtis, what's up?
Yeah, I was thinking, people aren't concentrating on the right thing in this whole zoo thing. Why do they have what they were saying in the news today? Was the fence that the kid crawled over was the size of a baby gate. Babies practice for years getting over those things. Couldn't they have had a taller fence to keep kids? Because kids are naturally going to climb over stuff.
Let me tell you something. When Gail was little, she didn't go nowhere but the couch. She just sat on the couch. Sometimes she would get up. I
was a talker. I wanted to be with a conversation.
She was basically sitting around talking. Her brother, if you looked sideways, he'd be on the chimney. And I just did a Philly style chimney. He'd be on the roof, swinging around. If there was a gorilla pit in my backyard, he would have been laying. He was as fast as lightning, could climb like an idiot, and there was no one had a second's peace.
Yeah, that easily could have been him.
Yeah. And Gail would be like this. Anybody see my brother? Because he just went out of here very fast. I mean, one was talking, the other's stealthy, was just getting wherever he had to go. Joe, Virginia. Joe.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up?
I just wanted to agree with you, Ron, 100% about shooting the gorilla. I mean, can you imagine if things had gone differently? Say the kid pops in there and immediately is dismembered. I mean, what would we talk about now? I don't even know why we're talking about this. It's ridiculous. You shoot the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even think about this.
And as I said, if he immediately would have started mauling the child, they would have ended up shooting the gorilla afterwards. Nobody's going to come visit the gorilla that murdered the child last week. They would have ended up putting him down.
Mike, in New York. Mike. Once, twice.
I just love the whole process that you have analogized the Monday morning quarterbacking to the Eric Garner killing. and the takeover.
Well, both of those things as just the American people themselves that I'm talking about. That's the X thing, that these people who very rarely give a shit when a human is killed. That you're actually, if you think of half the times the people were, oh, they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. He had to shoot. If a fucking bank robber had a hold of a kid, you'd say, shoot that fucker. Shoot him down.
Yeah. We also had to think about the fact that somebody was the gunman here who acted quick enough and skillfully enough to do it before a child was hurt. I mean, the whole thing is sad, but somebody had to step in and make that decision and do it in a skillful, quick way.
And that someone is a guy who dedicated themselves to animals, and probably this one in particular.
Yeah.
You fucking shoot. Look, it's still on every goddamn news thing, and it's days old. And here's my thing. I don't think people like gorillas. I think they like cartoon gorillas.
Yeah.
You know? I think they like Magilla gorilla.
I don't think you want to be spending any time with them.
If you really like gorillas, you'd think it's shitty that they're in a zoo. I mean, I think we passed the point where we even need zoos.
No more zoos, maybe?
Look, there was a time you had the Bronx Zoo because there was no way people in New York were going to see an animal, right? They just weren't going to see an African animal. Now they could easily go on YouTube or Google and see a tiger in seconds and go, oh, that's what a tiger is. When we first started having zoos, we didn't even have fucking TV or movies. No one, they said, I heard there's some animals in Africa different than us, but I doubt it. I guess they're like dogs or Tatanka, which we call buffalo. Here's Terry. Terry, what's up?
Hey, Ronnie.
Yeah.
That line about Einstein putting his dick in the pencil sharpener.
Yeah.
Line of the year, buddy.
Well,
line of the year.
I'm telling you the truth. You're not a genius at 3. You're still pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah.
No matter who you are. I mean, you're what? 2 years tops out of shitting yourself? Forget about it.
You're also, like, even the most precocious of child has to be told, like, don't go with strangers, don't look both ways before you cross the street. I don't care how clever you are. You're still going to make the wrong decisions. That's why adults are there to tell you not to do this stuff so you don't learn by dying in a gorilla pit.
My parents used to tell us constantly, stay out of the highway. I didn't listen. Stay off the railroad tracks. Didn't listen. I would swear to my mom, I'm not going anywhere near the railroad tracks. 15 minutes later, I'm running next to a train, trying to jump on the side of it. Lying. Just absolutely lying. By the way, I was like down in that area. There was 2 long trains that I had to sit for. 2 incredibly long, like 20-minute fucking trains that went by.
That's crazy when that happens. Because then you're like, how many people are in charge of this buggy? And they could be massive.
Dude, one of the places that I stopped at, the lights was going, so I acted like I was going to run the light to make your mom scream. And there wasn't even a thing that dropped. It was just wide open.
What?
Yeah.
You need the thing.
Yeah.
You have to have that thing.
And I kept yelling, I can't do it. I can't do it. And like that train is like 15. I'm going for it. I'm going for it like Burt Reynolds. And she's just screaming, no. Fucking
Don't
great.
kill us.
Yeah. I think I can do it. Really, I'm no different than that kid. You'd have to shoot the fucking train. Hey, Brian, what's up, buddy?
Hey, buddies.
Yeah.
First want to say, Gail, I just listened to last week's Best Show, and you were awesome on it.
Oh, thanks so much.
Man, I love you on the Best Show, too.
I always have a fun time on the Best Show, and always great that Tom asked me to come on.
Oh,
It's a
you
lot
know
of
what?
fun.
Take this break and send it to Tom and show that I'm not talking to just truckers.
Yeah.
And by the way, truckers are great.
Yes,
Stop
exactly.
putting them down.
I know. And
Maybe
we're not
truckers don't have
just-
NPR.
And we're not just raw doggies over here. We're more than that.
Yeah, that's true.
But thank you so much for listening. It
And
was
the
a lot
name of the
fun.
show isn't Raw Dog, and you know it.
He knows it's not raw
You're
dog.
just being mean. There's a cruelness to you. a lot of people who see themselves as nice, incredibly cool. I had to point that out to Martin Short yesterday.
I know you did. You said
I'll say it to every Canadian.
your humor is more mean-spirited than you let on.
They're awful people. That's why we think they're so funny. But everyone who comes out of Toronto is vicious. And then they go, but we're really polite because we're Canadians. Those kids in the hall were saying that. Those guys are gunslingers.
I know. They're really mean-spirited humor.
I mean, seriously.
It's great.
This is why I will give the legions of skanks a fucking benefit of the doubt. They know they're awful people, and they embrace it. Where the kids in the hall, awful people, and then go, but, we're kind. We're Canadians. We're very, very good people. All right. Is there something you want to say, Brian, or just that's it?
Yeah, I was going to say with zoo animals, even if they didn't shoot that gorilla at that time and they were able to get the boy out, they still would have had to put it down. And I think why they do it is, or the logic behind it is that in general, if any zoo animal attacks a person, they put it down because it breaks kind of the training. And anytime a handler goes into that environment, they're at risk of being attacked by the animal because they know they can do it.
I've heard the same thing from other people, but I think it's that same expert thing that Gail brought up. Because someone said this is like when a dog kills a chicken, it just has the taste for blood. And if this thing touches a baby, he's just going to want to touch everybody. I don't know.
Look, I mean, could you maybe use the same logic you apply to other animals? Yeah, they do learn behavior. And once you give them an inch, yes, they will continue to do that. For example, a lady at the ice cream shop once came outside, saw a birdie, and decided to give her a free scoop of vanilla ice cream. 2.5 years later, we cannot pass that place without her sitting outside, wagging her tail. Like, I'm sure that lady's going to be back. It was once, 2.5 years ago, and now I have to avoid the corner at all costs because I can't get her to move.
I gave Birdie some ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't even enjoy it. She eats it so fast, it's just gone. And then she's looking back at me. And I'm like, dude, I don't eat ice cream at the same pace as you. This is totally unfair.
The thing that I always find really hurtful about sharing food with her is like she's never once thought like maybe I want some of her
That's
food.
a really good
Like
point.
no, I don't want it, but she doesn't even act like if I give her a treat, she runs in a corner and like blocks her back to it as though like in case she tries to take this back, I'm defending it. Like, that's just
Who
mean.
are you, OKC?
Yeah, I give you everything. Every time I have some, like, it really makes it hurtful. Because I thought we were closer than that. She's never offered once.
No. An animal's in it for themselves. An animal is a Scientologist. They think the same exact way.
Full of thetans. Thetans, Scientology.
I didn't know you believed in that stuff, Chris.
I just know about it, I've dabbled.
Have you really?
I got a EMI or a stress test in Grand Central once.
Well, you
Did
give
you?
stress.
I know someone who said she was semi-kidnapped for the day by a Scientologist. That that they started to like get in her head. They broke her. And she ended up just like in a room and they were just like, will you agree to these classes?
Yeah.
Until finally she's just like, I don't know what's come of me. I think I've been here for 7 hours and you need to let me go.
I was just telling him I just shit down my leg.
There's nothing you can do to help me.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if this takes anybody up. I just shut down my leg right now, so I got to get out of here. We're going to get to the summer reading list later. Chris has just overbooked the show in the last 2 days. You're like a mad dog over there. I'm going to have to take bookings off of you.
Yeah.
I'm taking away your job at Town Hall and giving it to Joe after what you did yesterday.
The fish barb incident. Fish barbs.
Yes, that, among others, like standing in front of the stars and in front of their camera.
When he blocked them. And you really did look like a bouncer. Like you went into full, like crossed your arms intimidating and stood over everyone.
If you listen to that and you hear me say, Chris, you'll see like I'm not even going for the joke. I'm just like, Chris, please.
It's practical. This is just
No, it was like sad. It was like sad, like, please. I'm not asking you to help, but stop hurting the show.
Yeah.
please.
I'll always remember that Chris guy. Heard
It
this
was
is like,
so gentle.
Yeah.
Chris,
It was
please.
so sad because I'm sitting next to two stars.
yeah, giant stars.
Did you watch last night, by the way?
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
I thought it was really fun, and I'm curious how it's going to be received because it feels
Blew
very
up on Twitter.
It did trend, right, on
It
Twitter.
trend, and it was trending with, I'd say 85 to 90% positive, and then about 10% SNL stuff.
Right.
But it was SNL haters like, what is this, the SNL cast stuff show? So what if it is?
Yeah.
It's on at fucking 10. You know, I had an idea for SNL years ago. Is stop with the whole cast. Just, you've got 40 years of people. Let people come in and do one sketch, right?
Yeah.
Just one sketch and get out. And you know that they would love to. You know that you could go back and figure out who from what period of time, you know, maybe Spade would want to come in and do. This is basically what they're doing with Maya and Marty.
Exactly.
They've got the full thing of anybody who wants to come in and work a day. You know, it's almost like if they made a Funny or Die bit.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you've got, at any point you could have 3, 4. You don't think SNL could have pulled that off, having 3, 4, 5 different guest spots where you do one sketch? Of course they could have.
But that it kind of, first of all, for some reason, you've got to put the host into every fucking sketch on SNL. And then second of all, you know, you have a cast that you're paying, it's their time. But no, just have Tom Hanks drop in, do one bit. It's fucking Tom Hanks. It's a movie star. Steve Martin drops in, does a bit, movie star.
I was curious how it was going to be received because it does kind of have the old school feeling, not just because
it's not aimed at kids.
Yeah, it's not. It feels older. It feels not just like a variety show, but a little bit of that kind of slapsticky humor. It's kind of interesting because in the Unmasked, or in the town hall, you talked to her and said she brought up Carol Burnett, and I was thinking so much of Carol Burnett's show.
Well,
watching
it was very much like that. But then the other thing that was kind of cool is Miley Cyrus came out and didn't do a hit of her own. She just covered a weird thing that she would never cover before. Some people are like, this blows. But I'm like, well, at least just seeing somebody do something different, you know?
I thought that was a cool choice to have her do something a little different rather than just like have the pop star.
Normally,
of
the record
moment.
company won't let you do it. They're like, there's nothing in it for us. Why would we?
Right.
You know, we're trying to push this download this week. Joe, do you think you're up to being Mike Guy in the Crowd?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to do that.
You just lack the experience.
Yeah, but I think what I have going for me is that I'm quick, I'm silent, and I'm very petite.
Those are all things I love hearing. You know what? And both a woman and a town hall person.
But the funniest thing is I've never heard a man positively describe himself as petite.
No, he is. He's petite.
I'm very petite.
I said petite.
Maybe you could go around, find a mentor down there. Somebody who's done this kind of thing before.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Someone that could guide you and hone your skills.
Yeah, keep your ear to the ground, would you?
I will, yeah.
All right. Hey, Charlie. Charlie, what's up?
Ronnie B.
Yeah.
What if that kid fell in the red roast tea commercial?
Well, first of all, the Red Rose Tea commercial, those guys not only would have saved the baby, but probably would have given him an instrument or dance some kind of jazz dance with him. Because are you telling me you can't find a Red Rose Tea?
Oh, it's going right now.
These are the greatest commercials of all time. You ever seen them,
Let
Gail?
me see this.
Make it nice and big, too. This is, all right, no, wait, stop it for a second. Look, there's a nightclub, right?
Okay, cool.
All right, good. Turn it up, sound.
Why is a monkey in a suit so funny?
It's the funniest thing in the world. Well, like, the funny thing is, where's he going? Job interview? What do you got, a date? You're a monkey. Where could you possibly be going? Red Rose Tea. Red Rose Tea. Jackie Martling is stopping in just a little bit. And then later on the show, we've got some of the folks from the Comedy Cellar coming by.
Yeah, that's right. We've got Noam Dwarman coming by, who we've had in before. And then we've also got SD Aderam.
Who she is. Well, you'll hear the whole story if you're interested in comedy at all. The what's happening at the Cellar is just, it's peak stuff. I don't know whether everybody has seen the Norton story that's up, where he just tweeted this out, and I'll get to the bottom of it. I'll have to come over this way because we don't have a thing for me. But Jim just tweets, for anyone interested, I'm about to shit my pants in the Container Store, right? Which is hilarious. For anyone interested, I'm about to shit my pants in the Container Store. Then the Container Store tweets back to him at Jim Norton, hope you made it to the bathroom, but you could use a weather-tight tote in case of emergency. It's airtight. No returns, though.
So he had tagged the Container Store when he had said it?
No, he didn't attack. He just said a joke.
No, tagged. Did he tag?
Yeah, he tagged it. Yeah. Well, wait, did he tag it?
No, he just says the Container Store instead of at Container Store.
Yeah.
So they're just checking out who's talking about the Container Store.
Yeah, I guess they got some kid there who's like, if Container Store comes up, he's ready to handle a problem.
Well, I have to say, that social media intern just killed it. I mean, he did a great job.
Good job, kid.
But it's the funniest fucking shit ever. So that's up on the iBang if you want to check it out. Somebody even wrote a big story about it. Just, I guess, going over the whole thing. Who wrote that?
That's Bill Tressler.
Bill Tressler's on top of things, man. He's the new it girl. There's also pictures up there of Jose Canseco's daughter, who is in the new Playboy. Jose said he didn't even know about it.
Oh, man.
But I don't know if there's some kind of steroids for attractiveness that she's cheating with, but she is gorgeous.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
So this is also the all-new Playboy.
The all-new Playboy, where she's just side ass.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the before anything, but she is gorgeous. Canseco.
Yeah, she's incredibly beautiful. Let me see that first one. That's not the first. Yeah, there. She's so gorgeous.
I think it was his first wife a little bit, and she had like a titty bar down in Miami. And man, I went down, she invited us down, probably didn't get there till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was like the most fucking beautiful women. Just like crazy South American gorgeous women, and we're having a fucking blast. And then we look around the room, and I'm like, oh, fuck. These guys look like serious human beings that are sitting around this room.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then a buddy of mine, Fast Eddie, he jumps on the stage and starts, taking his shirt off and dancing around like you suddenly do. These guys were so fucking offended. Like we were trying to act like they were gay by this happening.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And it just fucking felt like we were going to end up in a Miami Vice fucking episode.
You're going to have to fight your way out of that.
No, it wasn't going to be any fight. We just sat there and got shot up. There wasn't going to be any fighting. Some of us, the lucky ones, would have been shot in the chest.
I like the idea of back. I like the idea of like somebody like just a drunk dude pops his shirt off, and you're just like, "What is that supposed to mean about me?"
Yeah, what are you fucking saying? And I mean, I'm not even saying. I mean, this wasn't a Magic Mike show, right? You fucking picture Dom DeLuise deciding to fucking show his belly. That was the funny. It was all just in fun and partying. These guys were not fucking happy.
They don't like those kind of jokes.
I don't remember her first name. Canseco's been married a couple times. She was gorgeous too. So I don't even think it's this girl's mom. But Canseco, if you go through, obviously being a good-looking dude and a fucking ball player, celebrity, and rich, he's been surrounded by nothing but beautiful women.
You're going to do well for yourself when you're dealing with those odds.
Yeah, and then you put that together, and of course the kid's going to be beautiful, It's like, is Joey Jojo going to have a nearsighted child? Yeah.
Hopefully.
So someone was explaining to me, like, why It's why there's this like stereotype of rich girls and rich girls being attractive. And it's like, because like their dad is rich and then they get a trophy mom and then you're getting the product of their trophy wife. So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Your dad is rich and your mama's good looking. But yeah, of course that's true.
Yeah. Trophy wife babies.
Yeah, that's what you're getting. It's what Hitler had in mind from the beginning. Did it really take us almost 50 minutes to mention the term Hitler on this show?
Can't believe it.
Yeah.
Feel off.
Well, this girl could end up with Chris Stanley, I think.
I
Could be
think
perfect
that,
for you.
I think that, Chris, if whatever's going on with you, I don't know, but
Yeah.
Hey, did you get the email about the guy bitching about replays?
Yes, I did.
I'm just always getting, somebody's pissed about something, Chris.
I know.
I don't even get it. I don't even get it. Oh, got it, Ron. Boy, with Chris, he's not a responder.
he's not a first responder.
Well, then he acts like he got lost somewhere. And then, how long did it take you to get back to me that question yesterday?
Oh, that was like
14 hours?
6 or 7. Yeah, it was a long time.
And then he goes, I'm sorry, I passed out.
I did.
But there were things that he had written, like 10 things that he had written to me. Stuff that he wanted from me. Right? Fucking, cover gambling debts. His normal email to me.
Wire me some cash, bro.
Up on the iBank today, too, Brian Volk Weiss says, basically blaming the PC thing on Barney and the fact that college's audiences are considered kind of a nightmare for comics these days. And he blames it on Barney. But Barney came along with like the same kind of teaching of let's protect the children and make the children happy. I think of it this way. Why is that? Would you get mad if a comic? What would you say to a comic who said I can't play high schools anymore? You know what I mean? Like I go back to high schools and those kids won't relate to me.
Right.
College kids are kind of like high school kids now.
Yeah, I mean, they were just high school kids like a second ago.
This isn't the 1960s where you're thinking of some kind of thoughtful kid in school thinking about the world and government. They're just thinking about getting good jobs and they want to be safe and have fun.
So you think maybe what it is as a comic, you got to know your audience enough to go, is this the kind of place that my humor is going to go over? Is it not the kind of place?
Look, corporate gigs pay a lot of money and they suck.
Right.
But you go in there and you do. Now, a corporate gig will say to you, I don't want you to say fuck a duck if you want to work here. You can't say fuck a duck. You can't do it. If you say yes to that, you can't go in and cry because you can't say fuck a duck. You know what I mean? Like, I worked in terrestrial radio. I couldn't say all the things I could say here. So I didn't say them. That's the deal that you make. You go into college and you're acting like these kids won't let me change their thinking. Why shouldn't you be forced to fucking play to your hack audience the same way if you're going to go out and do a show for Silicon Valley, you're probably going to fucking play up to those assholes too.
Was it? I think it was Sarah Silverman was one of the comics who, like, it was very surprising, but she went on the opposite end saying, like, PC, maybe this is the direction that the audiences are going. Maybe you should rethink your material rather than being upset about the audience not receiving you.
Well, I mean, a college audience has been raised since kindergarten to everybody belongs here. Bullying used to be mean punched in the back. Then it got making fun of. And then finally now it's like not inviting everyone to your party. You can't have a party with just your friends.
Right. So I think, like, for that same reason, different, depending on where you are, like, certain people are going to be really responsive to, like, self-depreciating humor because they feel like it's comfortable for you to say that about yourself.
Yeah.
But they don't want you to pick on someone that, they feel
I just
marginalized.
heard. Yeah, I just heard from somebody to update me on my facts. It was Esther Canseco, and the club at the time was called the Alley Cat.
Oh.
The Alley Cat. Isn't it funny that I can get information there, but not from Chris Stanley? Hey, could you plug me in?
Yes, I could.
I don't know if I'm crazy, but this phone just seems like it's got to be plugged in constantly.
That's what happens with the iPhone.
Was it time for me to upgrade?
I don't know. I like that. That happens before anything else. It's very frustrating.
I'm supposed to be getting an iPhone Super 9. Not even available to
Oh my
everybody else for
God.
another 5 years.
Holy shit.
Got any cool features on it? Or
Well, I can make cars talk. So that's one of the things I'm looking for.
I didn't even know I wanted that, but now I do.
Hey, the dude from this really pisses me off when I don't come up with an idea first. So the dude from Amazon was given some kind of talk yesterday, and they started talking to him about pollution and the Earth's resources, and he said within the next 20 years, our factories are going to be in space, and they will free up more space down here on the planet for the rest of us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Space factories.
Yeah, space factories.
That does seem like something that would have been your idea.
It should have been. I get very annoyed with myself when I don't think of space factories.
I had an idea yesterday, and I'm not quite sure if this already exists, but I think it's $1 million idea. So you're taking the virtual reality idea. So you're able to see things either through like Google Glass or some sort of.
Have you
goggles.
tried that yet?
No, I haven't.
I tried it the other day with the little fucking paper thing that they do.
The Google one?
Yeah. It was a tchotchke that came in, and then you just download these things on your phone. It was fucking amazing.
Are you serious?
I was floating in space.
What?
I was falling through New York City. I was flying around. There were celebrities flying around me. It was crazy.
I want to do that.
And I mean, this thing looked like it would take 18 cents to make, and then you just stick your phone in there.
I want one
You're
of those.
typing constantly. Fucking drive me nuts. Might have to put Vito back over there because of ham hands. Either that or finish your fucking novel. Look, Gail, you haven't seen it before, so there it is
Yeah,
now.
that's it.
In the meantime, we can't find Alley Cat and Esther Seiko.
So this is my idea. So think about you're taking the technology of a Google Glass, right? So you're able to see this lens, but you're able to also see the world through it, right?
Okay.
But you're also taking the technology of, say, a Snapchat where they capture someone's face and then you're able to put like silly things on them. So now what you'll be able to do is with this app, you will then be able to create anyone nude that you want.
Just
so
have
now,
your tits showing?
yeah, but it's not their real thing. It's like a virtual, like the virtual reality
Virtual
kind of
tits.
fills it in,
Right.
just based on their body type, and it will make anyone you want naked.
I want to do that when I public speak because it really helps me to picture
Exactly.
the audience with their tits out.
I've never known why that was a thing, by the way. I've heard this since I was a child. Picture the audience in their underwear. Why would that make me more
Doing
comfortable?
that anyway. I always say to people, picture the audience pointing at you and laughing and screaming, "You're a moron," and
And that'll really give you the motivation you need.
Yeah, and that'll help you choke up.
Anyway, that's my $1 million app idea. I think that it's a good idea, and I think
I'm
that
in. I'm going to be an angel investor. Now, I had an idea the other day, and I tried it. I probably shouldn't even give it out, but I'm going to. It's a peanut butter and ice cream sandwich, right?
All right.
You're going to have it in the summer. Now, some of the problems I run into is that the bread gets really soggy. The bread's really soggy.
Yeah.
And then the ice cream spills off the ends. But I just decided this. It was kind of a breakthrough. What the fuck, you know? So you're going to get a little soggy. You know, at least it's a nice peanut butter and ice cream sandwich. The other problem is, too, and this might have really screwed me up, I only had pumpernickel bread, you know? So probably if I would have had a different flavor bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a prototype?
All right, here's the other thing I came up with. You know how people like beer, right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
And they like wine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Combine the two. And it's called beer wine.
Beer wine.
Yeah. Now, I got it by using just taking, I mean, I'm going to get it in the same container one day. But I just took a beer, poured it in with the wine. When you slug it down, it's shocking how awful it tastes. Two good things, right? But
Right.
if you put
You
them
think-
together, they're just awful.
Why wouldn't you want your hops to taste like
Yeah.
fermented grapes?
Right.
You know, but yet I bet you're right. It doesn't.
One of the
taste
things I added to it, it changed the taste. It was raw clams, but it did not change the taste for the better. I kind of feel like the acidity of the wine and the clamminess of the clam.
Offset?
I don't know if offset is the right word.
Sounds like it to offset the flavor.
I don't know.
Sounds to me. I haven't tried it.
I mean, how would you describe offsetting a flavor?
It offsets it from good to bad.
No. Then that doesn't make sense at all. Chris, please stop standing in front of the stars. And there's also a camera there.
Yeah.
You still thinking about it, Joe? Have you found a mentor yet?
I found one, yeah.
Oh.
He doesn't live a public life anymore.
Oh!
Yeah.
What did he say?
He gave me all of his tidbits and quirks from doing it for so long. Yeah.
Did he just send it now?
He sent it this morning.
When? What time?
Early this morning. When I woke up, I had the email.
Well, why didn't you bring it up earlier when I said you ought to find a mentor?
I wanted to play it up.
Just the exact opposite. What paper are you putting over here?
Mr. Jackie Martling's plug.
Well, I got to break first?
Yeah, we should break first.
How would this Joe bury the lead?
I know. That's very interesting to me. That's very sweet that he reached out to you like that.
But before we even started talking about it.
Yeah, it's like you guys are like linked.
Did you get a note?
No note. I got gold farbed.
Are you
gold barged?
Curious about his note?
barge.
Yeah, I'm very.
Now you're messing up the name you messed up. He called it gold farb.
That's our fucking
fish barge.
Yeah,
Fish barge. That's it.
Fish barge. That's his idea. Fish barge. It's a barge with the fish inside instead of underneath.
Like they run the barge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're in charge. They're in charge of the fish
I guess
barge.
underneath them is air with humans living there.
Exactly.
Exactly. What's it say? Without giving away anybody's identity.
It says...
Are you reading it?
No.
God, dude. I don't fucking get you. I got to go on to my next fucking guest. Hold on, Steve is on to something. Steve.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel if you put your ice cream and peanut butter sandwich on a nice hoagie roll, you'd be okay. It'll hold it all in.
Interesting,
Yeah.
huh? Interesting.
And then there's enough for the whole family.
Yeah. Maybe I'll use that fish taco stuff that Chris is hitting at. All right. Look, I don't have any more pliers because I can't yank any more of your fucking teeth. What time did your note come in?
It came in at...
Oh, God. He's always just fucking...
12:30 last night.
What?
And you just get around to telling us a fucking full 12 hours later.
Yeah.
What's it say?
It says, dress normally. Don't wear anything that's...
It just starts with dress normally. Doesn't say anything else.
It says, hey, Joey Jojo. I wouldn't, It says...
Why can't you read?
Print it up and fucking send it to us, okay?
Okay, will do.
Because what we're asking you for is radio.
Okay, I'll print it
And
up.
you can't deliver that. We'll be right back. Bennington.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. In 1995, Tito Beverage had the idea of building his own micro distillery, incorporating the boutique winery concept into the spirits industry.
Tito had the same ideas as me, but just 20-some years before.
Yeah, but you also didn't put your life savings into it. You didn't rack up 19 credit cards.
I can't.
You didn't build your own copper pot stills and condensers.
I'm not going to take those kind of chances.
And you know what? He took those chances and he reaped all the benefits. He
that's
won
true.
95 rating by wine enthusiasts, won the unanimous Judges' Choice double gold medal at the World Spirits Competition, the Chairman's Trophy for the world's best vodka tonic, and that's just naming a few.
Well, and all those things, I got an incomplete because I haven't finished my vodka yet. I did give them something. I took an aquarium, I poured some Tito's in there and said it was a new vodka, and they caught me.
But that's not the only thing he's innovative about. He's got a modest paper label on a simple bottle. So all you're paying for is exceptional handmade vodka. You're not paying for all that other fancy stuff.
Well, what mine was more like was urine mixed with water, but was put in a beautiful mermaid container.
See, that's not as good. That's not as good.
From the outside, it looked great.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. But the inside,
Someone
garbage.
actually said this to me. Is there a yellowish U to this? And I said, I don't even know what U means. And then I said, there is no you in fun. And I had to come back later and go, I found out from my staff that there is.
Tito still makes his vodka on the same land where he started it all, in Austin, Texas. Tito's handmade vodka is distilled from corn and is naturally gluten-free. Visit us at titosvodka.com for recipes, songs, and more. Handcrafted to be savored responsibly.
It's the Bennington Show, and we are back. And look who is here. It's our old buddy Jackie Martling. Jackie.
Hi, Ronnie.
You know, Jackie is so busy. He's at the Brokerage in Belmore, Long Island, this Saturday, June 4th. And then you can follow Jackie on Twitter at Jackie Martling for his joke that he tweets every day, 420. And then Wednesday, June 8th, he's at the Parks with an X Casino in PA. Check it all out at jokeland.com. Great to see you, Jackie.
Well, I got my plugs. I'm going to go now.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Nice to
you
see you.
Get your plugs. You're out of here. You know, I've read some of the things because you've been kind enough to send them along, some of your stories from the past. Any talks any closer on the book?
I came so close twice since I've seen you, and I think I have finally decided I'm just going to self-publish because, you know, they get so close and they're so excited, and then, you know, money is so tight, and I think it's the old thing where everybody's so scared to take a leave. There's every chance that if I put out a book, it could sell through the roof, but there's every chance it won't. You know, so, you know, this went through my mind. A couple of people told me I'm out of my mind, and a couple of people said it's a great idea because I've worked in this forever. And I think you need 80,000 words, and I have 120,000. I mean, I got a lot of stuff, okay? And the chapters, every time I almost sell it, I put them together, and I work on them, and, you know, and it leapfrogs. So some chapters are done, and some are developed, and blah, blah, blah. And at some point, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I am just going to publish it and call it unfinished book, almost like Pompeii, like caught in time.
Right.
This is where it was at when I decided, the hell with the world, I'm publishing. And it might be interesting. And even if I got lambasted for it, there's no bad press.
Yeah, but I've seen the stories that you said, and they're just your own personal stories of people you hung with and partied with.
It's fun, right?
It's great. And your life has been just nuts from word go. And these are hilarious stories.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it out loud, but I totally agree with you.
Yes, you should.
You know, because, you know, I suffered through all this crap. I should get something out of it, you know. And, but it'll get out there. It'll eventually get out there. I got, you know, a bunch of stuff going on, and I got a new girlfriend I'm madly in love with, and she's just firing me up. And, since the last time I saw, you know, we did a show at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, and I haven't done an arena show like back when I headlined at the Riviera in the 90s. That was 1,000 people, and this was only half full, and it was 3,000 people, and there were 8 of us. And of course, like, well, Jackie, you have to close the show because you're wild, and blah, blah. I'm like, and I always have to close, and I'm like, but it's Slayton, Bobby Slayton's hosting, and there's like TV guy, you know, Billy Goodell. I mean, it was heavy hitters on this thing, and I'm going to get these people after 2 hours. So I'm grabbing my. I've been doing this 40 years, but still. And Ron, you would not believe it. I went up there, and I'm not just for me. 3,000 people were quieter than a comedy club. They were a theater audience with, like, bring them down to this volume, and then have them screaming. You know, no Baba Booies and no F jacket. It was just an absolute killer. And I was like, whoa, you know. And of course, 3 nights later, I'm in Jersey for 70 people. Like, hey, folks, thanks for coming out. You know, anybody else out there? You know,
that's a business, though, right? It's
oh man, I just love it. You know, I'm doing the Brokerage Saturday night, and I started that club in 1980, and I started Governors in like 81. And it's just so fun to go there. You know, I mean, I knew it when it was a music venue in the 70s, and just really enjoying myself. You know, I started this thing this week. I don't know about you, but I'm very cynical about the health stuff. And I met these people at a party that are doing this DNA mapping where they can actually tell you exactly what you need. It's not just bioidentical hormones, which I still was cynical about. But this is what the roadmap of your body. So I went to this place in Roslyn. It's called Prism Medical Spa, which I've never heard of a medical spa before. But I said, you know what, I'll go in and have a talk with no intention of doing anything. Next thing I know, I'm on my back, and they're going over me with a machine that's going to suck the fat out. But I'll tell you, you got a pretty girl rubbing your body with a machine. There is no downside. Like, you know, Jackie didn't lose any weight. What? You know, but it's so great, and it's the wave of the future. It's science, and it's like they're saying they can do. It's going to do all this wondrous stuff to you. But, imagine in 1850 somebody said, oh, you're going to be able to pick up something and talk to somebody on the phone. You know what I mean? So I decided I'm not a cynic. And this beautiful girl, Athena, working on me. And
that's going to be your new thing now. You're going to...
Well, I'm going to go there once a week until, I realize that I'm getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
And they don't modify like anything else about your life, like
No. That's going to be a total. I'm still brand new to it, but they map you out and they take your blood, and it's a whole specific regimen, and and you can into it.
Yeah, you can still do coke. That's the beauty of it.
That is, meth is no problem. I don't know about you, but I go through these things. I was very thin for a long time, and I was very happy. I had a girlfriend years ago, and she told me she would do some quite a despicable act should I get to 180. So I got to 170, and it got more interesting. But lately, it just starts creeping on, and I just got to the point where every pair of pants, I'm not strong enough to build, I finally had to load them all in a bag and take them upstairs, and I swore I would, so what do you do? Food is too good, right?
Yeah, but now you got this new machine. They're rubbing it on you. Your DNA is being mapped.
I only had a few of the machines. They got machines in every room. I don't know. I just stay away from my butt, and I'm all fine.
Chris, would you go to this? Would you go? Because you quit drinking, you quit pills, you quit smoking, and yet you still look and feel like shit.
And when he came outside, he farted too.
Did he?
Well, yeah, the stomach is still.
Hey, I will hook you up with this place, Prism. Because I only did a few times, and I feel, how much is in your head?
Right.
How much, but it doesn't matter. If it's in your head, everything's in your head, right?
Here's the thing. You were farting in front of a guest?
It came out a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
and that sounded like he needed toilet paper and everything.
Okay, so it had a tail on it.
Yeah, it was bad.
But Chris, the other thing is you're mumbling too. So I was he's telling me
he figures he's not eating what he wants to eat. The hell with everybody.
First of all, he's like this. When I'm walking out, I'm like, he's like, I don't know if you know about it, and I'm opening the door, and I say to him, what the fuck are you talking about? And Jackie's like, yelling again. And I'm like, I just can't understand him.
Do you know what I hate? People mumble to you.
Yeah.
And then they tell you there's something wrong with your hearing.
Right.
Oh, you can't hear? Jackie says, or you're going to the bathroom. That's the classic. When you're peeing and your girlfriend's talking to you from 2 rooms away, she doesn't realize how loud
Oh, yeah. Because
I can't hear,
You're not good for ceramic. You're good for water every time.
Yeah, of course.
Chris, why are you mumbling? What is that?
I think it comes out at normal volume, but it's not.
It sounds like
that was an answer.
Yes, that's his answer.
I am taking you to Prism, and I'll make you a new man. And right next door is a speech therapist.
That's unbelievable.
This is perfect for you. You got to go to Prism.
Here's my thing. I think that you could take a razor, take 2 inches off each side of his tongue, and I bet he would talk perfectly.
Yeah, but then you have no dates after that.
By the way, did you see that we're no longer Time Warner in New York City? We're being called Spectrum now.
What?
I just saw that for the first time last night. What does that mean?
They're going to be playing old Flyers games from the 70s. It's the Spectrum. No, I don't know. I guess they bought Time Warner. They're changing out of Time Warner. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my! But
I'm so used to saying I hate Time Warner. I don't want to start saying I hate Spectrum.
No, it sounds too pleasant already. How could you hate Spectrum?
Every time I have an apartment in here, and I'm not in here all the time. And every time I want to go to Showtime or HBO, I got to. It's not Long Island. It's not 321. It's not 588. It's not, and they, just when you get to where you have an idea where it is, they change it.
Yeah, they change it. So, speaking of Long Island, I just saw this documentary on Twisted Sister. This would be perfect to go along with your book. Because here's the thing about Jackie. His stories, he's the guy that kind of connects like the old school vaudeville guys with the new guys.
I'm, Zelig.
Yeah, you are. You're Zelig. You go around. You'll look at pictures, old faded pictures, someone doing stand up in the Civil War, and then you go, "Is that Jackie?"
I'm always standing next to the guy that made it. I did a video called "Red Fox's Dirty Dirty Jokes," and Dice says that's the video that made his career.
Is that right?
I did Comedy's Dirtiest Dozen with Tim Allen and Chris Rock, Bill Hicks, and Jackie Martling. It's funny because they finally came out with it on video, and it's like a huge picture. Chris wasn't as big yet, so it's a huge picture of Tim Allen, and about 1/4 the size was a picture of Chris Rock. Jackie the Joke Man head, because I was just starting on the Stone Show. It's really great. But I'm always next to the guys that are made. I don't care, though. I love it. You know, speaking of guys that made it, somebody reminded me the other day, I don't know how it came up, but somehow Rich Hall's name came up. And Rich Hall, way years and years ago, David Letterman had a morning show. Right. Before he had the afternoon, before he had the night show. And this guy, Ron Richards, was a comedian. And he did what I did. Before there were comedy clubs, I had an amplifier and a couple extension speakers and a microphone. And of course my guitar, and I had the amplifier rigged so there was an XLR microphone plug in it, so it was a traveling circus, and that's how we started comedy on Long Island, was with my amplifier and speakers. Well, Ron Richards was doing the same thing in New Jersey, so if I got 2 gigs on a night somewhere, I'd say, why don't you come take one, and so that we wouldn't lose the money. And at the time, Ron Richards and Rich Hall lived in a house together in Jersey, just like guys would live together in college. There was no furniture. There was no food in the house. Nothing. And there were 2 Emmys on the mantle. Because they got Emmys for writing on the Letterman morning show. Is that a beauty?
Yeah.
Something just spurred that in my head the other day. I said, God, and I couldn't make that up, so I'm sure it's true. It's really funny.
Now, I was telling you, because Jackie sent me, there's tons of these kinds of stories. Like, there's an endless amount of these kind of stories. Some are about Jackie, some of the people you know, they're all a panic, and they're all, if you don't get them down, Jackie, they're going to be forgotten. That's
they're all down. I've got them all written, and every time I come here, you light a fire under me, because I know that I worry, like that story I just told you. That's a great story.
Right.
But I think it should be great for anybody, because anybody in show business is struggling.
Yes.
Or anybody struggling in life. We all have, somebody's got, their Emmy on,
right.
It's more general than it sounds, It's not like, well, I don't know who Ron Richards is, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, because the fact of the matter is, if you look at most successful people, there's at least 12 times they should have quit. That a sensible person would have said, "The hell with this."
12, 12 a day. I remember in the early 70s, I was like, "I'm going to give music one more year." Give it one more year. Speaking of music, I don't think I ever told you this. When we started out, I played music, and I quit music. I always use Rodney's joke. I said I quit music at the age of 31, and to give you an idea how well I was doing, I was the only one who knew I quit. Okay, Rodney, I was the only one who knew I quit. So when I started in comedy, I was still playing my guitar. And it was crazy, because I would do an hour's worth of disgusting jokes, and then I would play a really nice love song, sometimes a bittersweet song. Like, I got an album full of songs, and they're fun. I'll give you one. You can tell me what you think. But a lot of times there would be a love song at the end. But at the end of the show, I would do a different song. And there was maybe 5 or 6 songs that kind of almost made sense to do by myself with the guitar. And it was the same group of guys, me and Eddie Murphy and Bobby Nelson and Rob Bartlett and Minervini, Hawthorne and Woods. It was the same 7, 8, 9 guys, and 3 of them, or, a parcel of them would work the gigs. And one night we were working at the East Side, and I got, this is a true story. It's just stupid. And I got done. I was emceeing, and I did my opening thing. And then before I brought on the first act, they played a song. And I came off. And when I walked to the back of the room, Eddie Murphy came up to me and said, well, you got to remember that we all worked together. So they always saw my act. And they couldn't leave because we were all driving home together. And I played all these songs over and over, And Eddie came up and he said, Jack, I got like 5 favorite songs, and 3 of them are yours. Just from here, how a song you hear over and over.
Right.
You hear an oldie come on the radio. It's like, oh, remember this one? Wait a minute, I hated this song. You know what I mean? I love that.
Chris, why don't you do the plugs here? Make it, make it sound great.
Okay, yeah.
I will hook you up with Prism in Roslyn and make you a new man.
You need to,
unless you muff these. Now, what is he going to mumble, Bennington?
No, I don't want to. No, I want to see if he can pull, because I want him to be like a great announcer.
Jackie Martling's in studio. Jackie's performing at the Brokerage.
Not so fast.
Yeah, slow down.
Relax.
In Belmore, Long Island. And this Saturday.
But don't sound sad.
Oh, I'm not sad. This Saturday, June 4th at 7:30
Hey, you're
p.m.
going to be there.
Go to brokerage.govs.com for tickets. Jackie's also performing Wednesday, June 8th at Parks Casino in PA. And follow Jackie on Twitter at Jackie Martling for his daily joke tweeted at 4:20 p.m.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was a big-
It was nice.
Good.
Now, are
very good.
you, Jackie, was it you that brought Sam to the Howard Show, or?
No. Do you know my story with Sam?
No.
Oh, this is a beauty. And I don't know if I wrote this one up yet because I know it's going to take a while. Like I said, I used to have my amplifier and do shows, and Ron Richards had an amplifier. Then there was this guy named Jim Balatzos who did the same thing. He had an amplifier and a microphone, and he did shows in Jersey. And I started to do a little bit better, so I wasn't doing quite as many of my own shows because I was hosting governors. What am I talking about? So I didn't have to do that anymore. I was hosting governors, and we're making decent money for producing, booking the shows. And I had to host 3 days out of 4, and then the fourth week I got to travel. It was a pretty sweet deal for 2 or 3 years. But this guy Jim Balatzos was doing what we used to do. So I would go and work for this guy on say a Thursday, and he got to the point where he was doing well enough that he had, I guess you'd call them roadies. He'd drive there. He always had his bottle of vodka under his seat and his wife. And he had 2 guys, and he'd drive his van, and they'd get there, and the guys would set up the speakers and the sound system, and then we'd do the comedy show. And at some point, this happened for a month or maybe 3 months. I don't remember the time period, but these guys would be setting up the speakers, and they're like pals. They're the roadies. And they'd be setting up the speakers, and one guy go, "Let the whore!" And I'm like, what the, but they'd be setting on somebody go, "Oh, oh!" And I'm like, what the, it's like they had Tourette's. I'm like, what the fuck, And then that went on, but I never said, "What are you guys doing?" Because, you have friends, hey, you whore, you know what I mean? And I go to get in the van one night, and I jump in the van, and here's this, for all practical purposes, little troll, this little fat guy with his beret on sideways, and, big smile. And Jim says, "Jackie, this is Sam. I just brought him out from California. We're going to see how he works out here." And I said, "Hi, nice to meet you." So we're going to the other side of Jersey. So we're drinking like fish, and me and Sam were instantly connected. I guess if you pop a Budweiser together, and start to light a joint, you're off to the races. So, and it was so far over in the early days, in like 79, there was comedy in New York City for, since the early 70s, but it's a different concept when you set up a microphone and a speaker in a club. And these people have never seen live comedy. It's almost like going to the zoo. They've seen bands and DJs, but for another human being to be facing the other way, you see it on TV, but it's a whole different thing. And this was so far out in Jersey that they had a disco ball. And I swear, as I'm standing here, we had to tie up the disco ball so the audience could see the stage, but I'm not making that up. And I think the other act on the thing was not Steve Schaefer, he was one of the Seinfeld writers in the first year, because he reminded me one time, he said, I was in that van, blah, blah. So Balatzos goes, listen, Sam's a little different. So what we're going to do is you host, Jackie, but save some of your stuff, because I don't know how it's going to work with Sam, and you might have to close the show with some material. I said, well, fine, I'm drunk already, So we're there, and I introduced this guy, Sam, who was just a barrel of laughs on the way. And I can remember it, and this is not one of those, Sam Kinison is dead, and he was my old friend. It made such an impression. He walked up on stage, he just took the microphone, and he started pacing back and forth. And it seemed like an eternity, and I'm sure it wasn't, but he said, "Hi, folks, it's nice to be here tonight. You see this face? Remember this face. You're going to know this face, because I've had a weird time of it. You know why?" And he leaned over to a woman, and this is in the middle of Jersey where these people barely just got television. And he leans over, he says, "Because I live in hell! Ow! My wife is a whore! She's a leper whore! Ow! Ow!" And all of a sudden, I'm hearing what had happened was Balatzos had come home with one of Sam's cassettes, and they loved him, so they're pot-shotting back his catchphrases. But all of a sudden, I'm watching. I'm like, "This is you assholes," And he screamed for half an hour, whatever it was. And I'm telling you, when I went back up on stage, you know those black and white pictures of the people watching a 3D movie and they got the glasses on and they're all like this, like the Maxell commercial, I walked, those people looked like they'd seen a ghost. And, we started laughing. And then we got in the van. I said, man, you are different. He said, you're a great entertainer, man. This is so much fun. And we got so drunk, and that was that. And then 3, a year later, however much later, I'm sitting on the Stern show, and he comes walking. He goes, "What are you doing here, man?" I said, "What are you doing here, man?" And we were always asshole buddies. I opened for him that famous night at Westbury Music Fair, where he already had 3 opening acts. So he's all coked up in the morning. He says, "Jackie, you got to come be on the show tonight." So there was already Jim and Carl. And whatever the 3 guys, it wasn't Mitchell Walters, but it was the other 3 guys. So it was me, and then those 3, and then Sam. And, of course, he destroyed the place, but there was a second show. And in between shows, in my mind, he was taking handfuls of Quaaludes. Now, I don't know. I just know in my mind it was like, whoa, man. And he walked out on stage, and literally, the 4 of us killed. The audience was dying for Sam. So it's like taking candy from a baby. And he just walked around in a circle in Westbury and theater and around going. He had a bottle of wine in a brown bag. I could see it with his long coat, and his hair and his beret. And he's walking around in a circle going, Jessica. And finally somebody will yell, "Do your act!" He says, "You going to interrupt me, man? You're not going to let me." And it was atrocious. And like 80 or 90% of the people left, and they had to give the money back. And it was one of those for the ages, like it was one of those things where there are some, you can only do so many drugs and drink so much booze and still function. I mean, he was on another planet, but it was exciting, it was a wild, and I'm sure right now there's got to be somebody listening who was in that audience, because it was a sold out house at Westbury. It was a long time ago, like, probably 92 or 88. I don't remember. I don't even know when Sam passed away, but But crazy stories like that. And then afterwards, he's coming out of it a little bit. He's like, "Hey, Jackie, you live around here. Where's the bar?" And his brother Bill's behind him like, don't. This is hysterical shit, man. Since the last time I saw you, I got one of my bucket list things. Not half a bucket list.
Yeah.
You have a thing you'd like to do, and you almost do it. We went to a screening, me and Barbara went to a screening of The Big Short, which is a great, great, great movie. And it was a pretty hoity-toity screening because it was Tina Fey and Lorne Michaels. And sometimes I finagle, they invite me to these things with Peggy Siegel thing. And, it's a pretty glitter-eyed group. And Barbara's had only been going out with me a couple months at the time, but she knew one of my things was I always wanted to tell jokes with Paul McCartney. And I argued with Howard about this endlessly because jokes are a unifier, just like hockey or the Mets or something like that. If you love jokes and you run into somebody else that loves jokes, they're yours. Like me and Gilbert, you could lock us on, you could put us on a desert island for 10 years and we'd be fine because, if you're locked into that, some people hate jokes. Well, fuck them, But I know McCartney is a huge joke teller, a huge joke fan. I always maintained if I had him for 2 minutes, he'd be mine. He'd come to town and he'd say, where's the joke, man? Let's get together and fuck around. So Howard would say, "You're an idiot." And then I leave the show, and 2 months later, McCartney's on the show. So I went all the way to Phoenix. My buddy was promoting the show, and there's supposed to be a big pre-party, and the sound check's too long, and Paul wasn't at the pre-party. And then another time, blah, 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 and I sent all my stuff to the Eastmans. I sent all my stuff to MPL or whatever, and nothing. And here we are at this screening, and there comes Paul and Nancy down the stairs. And Barbara's like, "There he is. Go tell some jokes." I said, "Listen, especially in this crowd, there is not one person in this audience that doesn't think they have a perfectly legitimate reason to go up to a Beatle and say, 'You're not going to believe this, but I was on my tricycle.'" The person, And so I'm standing there, I'm like, no, you don't do that. And all of a sudden, they come around the perimeter of the party, and they walk right in front of my nose. Nancy Sheville, whatever her name is, she walked right in front of my nose, and here's McCartney, and the devil got me, and I just gently put my hand on his chest and said, "Can I tell you a joke?" And he turned and said, "Well, sure." And I told him a joke, and he he didn't scream, but he kind of roared. He didn't say, well, I got one for you. He laughed and then went on. Now, I'll tell you the joke because it was perfect. It wasn't pre-planned. I wasn't going to do it, but all of a sudden he's there and I'm like, fuck it. I said to him, the guy goes for a job interview and the interviewer says, what do you think is your biggest fault? And the guy says, I think my biggest fault is my honesty. And the interviewer says, I don't think honesty is a fault. And the guy says, I don't give a fuck what you think. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Don't steal my joke, you limey cocksucker. So fun. So that's what I had to report to you.
I wanted to ask you this question because it's in the news all of a sudden. I think it's Ian Halperin is the guy writing a book about Howard, and he claimed that Sinatra put out a hit on Howard, and another guy was killed. Am I getting that right, Chris?
Yeah, they killed
a wrong guy. Supposedly.
Hold on. Now, I know Sinatra supposedly had shots taken at Jackie Mason.
Yeah.
That's an old story.
Right. And there was even somebody else that,
the Shecky Green story was
the
fun.
Shecky Green story.
He saved my life. Stop kicking him. Which is just so great. You got to get Shecky on the show.
I've had Shecky on. He's amazing.
He's amazing. I was going to get a claim to fame by hooking you up.
No, you know what? He ended up battling with Gilbert about something. Oh, he quit the Friars Club because of Gilbert. But you don't know or have never heard anything about this.
But I do know that I always thought this was an odd. You find out that Bob Newhart and Don Rickles travel the world together, and that's strange bedfellows. You know who was Frank Sinatra's if not his best friend, one of his best friends is George Slaughter of Laugh-In. You know who that is? Yeah. George M. Slaughter. So I wonder if he would know. Well, but he probably wouldn't say that. But on what premise? I mean,
I think something that
from Billy doing the
it was in early '90s that
I've got you under my house and
all that kind of shit. And I think they said that Howard went on a rant about the kids at one time. Like this is early '90s, but I think if anyone would have heard this story, it would have been you.
The truth of it is, if there was. There was so many tentacles. It kept me an honest man in my marriage because there wasn't a person. There were, for all practical purposes, there were cameras everywhere. There were eyes everywhere.
Yeah.
And especially if they knew you and anybody that was the least. I mean, we're talking to Sammy Davis Jr. in his hotel room because the limo driver called up and gave us the number. I mean, there were tentacles everywhere. So, and it couldn't have been that well kept a secret. Somebody would have said something to somebody. But where did he quote a source of any kind?
Yeah, what do we have?
Who's the writer? Who's the writer?
His name's Ian Halpert, and he did it on Anthony Cumia's show. He was talking about this. He claims he's writing a book.
He's writing a book, and he says he has substantial corroboration. He hasn't named any names, though. And he said it was over yet, talking about Frank Jr. and Nancy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
the hardest part to believe is that it's over his kids. I didn't think he liked his kids. But now they're going to shoot me, Joe.
It's hard to believe that this is something that could have been kept under a hat for this many years.
That story is very good for one thing.
Yeah,
selling Ian's book.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And like you said,
now that story's in my book.
Yeah, Sinatra would have people beat up. But I never, he wasn't a mafia guy that could have a hit.
How do you shoot the wrong 6'5" Jew?
Yeah. Was it Joey Ramone? Who got shot? Who got shot?
I'm by this book.
Yeah.
I'm by this. And what would make him privy to this information?
Right. And how are you writing a book on Howard without coming to Jackie? That doesn't make sense either.
He just said all Ian's saying is he has proof.
Wow. I'm stoned. I don't know. Maybe he came to me. Maybe I told him that story.
Chris, do another one of your good plugs, but make this one sound great.
Oh, yeah. Jackie Martling's in studio. Jackie's performing at the Brokerage.
Slow
it down, dude.
Belmore, Long Island, this Saturday, June 4th at 7:30 p.m. You go to brokerage.govs.com for tickets, and you follow Jackie on Twitter at Jackie Martling for his daily joke tweet at 4:20 p.m. Go to jokeland.com for all additional dates. And next Wednesday, June 8th at Parks Casino, Jackie's also performing at 8 p.m.
Also, I send out jokes about once a month, and to get jokes, all you have to do is is to email me, jokeland@aol.com. And, people think I'm bigger than I am. People are like, wow, you answer your own email? I'm like, yeah, I get very sad when I don't get email.
Yeah.
And I'm still on AOL. God strike me dead. I finally put my calendar into Google, and you would have thought I landed on Pluto. Look at how modern am I. Jackie, what are you doing next Wednesday? Hold on a second. Let me look,
I love the fact, too, that so many of these clubs you opened. You were the guy who would open these rooms.
Well, I worked for Vinnie Brand when he had rooms before they were the Stress Factory. And one of Vinny's favorite stories, I'm sure you heard this, was I did like 2 shows for him at some Hilton or whatever. It was called the Stress Factory, but it wasn't a standalone building yet. I did 2 shows and just killed, and we were so loaded and so stoned. He got me a hotel room. So we're in the hotel room, me and him and his brother. Oh, that was a great story too. His brother, he says, I got a joke for you. And he told me a joke I never heard before. And he said, did I stump you? And I said, no, I heard that fucking joke. Are you kidding me? And 6 months later, I wrote to him and said, no, man, that's a great joke. And I sent him a shirt, but I just wanted to break his balls. And it had nothing to do with him. I want to break Vinny's balls. And it's his brother. It's electricity. So I got this hotel room. And to me, it's still like a step up. Hotels, not motels. No more Motel 5. I'm in a hotel. And when we're drunk and we're partying, and I said, okay, let me, I got some, like 6, he says it with case. I got probably put 6 beers on ice and rolled a joint. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I wake up in my own bed. If I work in Washington, D.C., I drive home because I don't want to, it's a wasted day. You wake up somewhere else. He said, you're not going to make it. I said, shut up. And he said, as I left the room with all this beer and all this pot, he said to himself, fuck, I should have paid him by check. Isn't that great?
But you always wanted to be home at night no matter where you worked on the East Coast.
I worked Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Boston. Yeah, because especially after 2 shows, but even 1 show, you're revved up. Mm-hmm. I smoke a little pot and turn on the radio or put in a tape, and I'm good to go. I could drive forever. All
right, here's Andrew wants to add something to that Ian Halpern story. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey guys, hey Jackie. If you remember when Howard had Son of the Beach, Frank Jr. was on that show. He played Stinkfinger, and then Nancy Jr. was on his radio show like 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't know how
Nancy Jr.
I mean,
she might be.
Maybe a Frank Jr., but not all juniors.
I was long gone. I met Nancy a bunch of times. She's actually very nice. I'm just being an idiot. And I never met Frank Jr., but yeah, I didn't think there was any animosity, So that's a tough story. That's a tough one to get past me, Because, to tell you the truth, George Slaughter was a very good friend of mine. He's the one I did those Joke in the Box things with him. And I did his TV show, George Slaughter's Comedy Club, in like 1985, before I was on Howard regular. And George is one of those joke guys, just like me and like McCartney. I could get George alone on a desert island. We could go forever and ever and ever. And we loved each other immediately. And he's got an amazing story. I don't know if anybody's done his biography, because he booked Las Vegas before it was Las Vegas, and he was a bouncer at Ciro's. And Ciro's became the Comedy Store. Yeah. George is a great guy. And after Private Parts came out, I still have the little letter from him it's got like a Hirschfield cartoon of George and and it says, Jackie, there was some very highfalutin people at a screening last night. We all sat around and watched Private Parts, and we were all thoroughly entertained. We were only disappointed that the little blonde guy wasn't giving more lines. He was jerking me. He was being nice. But he said, you'd be very surprised at who was there and who enjoyed the movie. And I didn't know till years later that Frank and Barbara was his good friend, and they were always sailing together. So I would imagine that Frank Sinatra was in that room and loved the movie. I am not buying that guy's story.
All right.
I got to believe Anthony would have dug into him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I only saw the article, so I didn't see it take place. But, he was just letting him roll.
I'm actually headed there later, so now finally I got something.
Get to the bottom of it.
I got something to talk to Anthony. I got a bone to pick with you. Where's this Ian Halpern?
Yeah. Are you doing the show at 4 today?
At 4 o'clock, yeah. I just booked it 2 seconds ago. Keith called up and said, you want to come today? Like, hell, what a day. I was on Jim Kerr this morning.
Oh, cool.
they're good to me. They're so sensitive. You sneeze, they're like, whoa.
They're worried about everything over there.
Yeah, and they got to be, but they've been doing it 40 years, so
yeah,
they're doing something right.
Well, he made the news not too long ago too.
Oh no, what did he do?
They said he was very friendly with one of the other people that works at the station, Carol. So look him up as like a little Page 6 story. And I'm glad to see Terrestrial getting the gossip treatment
I
again.
know,
It's good. It's been a while.
That's when you know you're legitimate.
Yeah, because most of the people don't even know who's on Terrestrial like you used to. You know?
No.
Everybody used to be stars with that. When did that happen?
That was back in February.
Yeah. Now, before she was married to our buddy in the hallway here. So we're all kind of
What we talking
interconnected. This is, what's her name?
Carol Miller.
Yeah. That's what they claimed.
Yeah.
But again.
This is the Carol Miller.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you could have brought that up today, too. I want to manage you and just prep you before you go into every one of these shows.
I am very embarrassed that I almost said, when you said Carol, I almost said, well, you don't mean Carol Miller because she can't possibly still be alive. Of course, if somebody says Jackie Martling, mention you on the air, she'll say Jackie Martling. He couldn't possibly still be alive.
You couldn't mean her. She's been gone for years. Here's Max in D.C.
Hey, Max.
Hey, Jackie. So I remember I caught you. I was 15. It was at Garvin's. Remember Garvin's under the bridge?
Garvin's was the place I was working when the owner said to me there was a disc jockey that did broadcasts in his underwear on Friday mornings, and he just got fired. He's going to New York. You should look him up because you might hit it off with him. And because of Harry at Garvin's, I sent Howard my 3 comedy albums, and that's how come I was on the Stern Show. So yes, I remember Garvin's.
Hey, I remember that. Well, I was only 15. My mom made me drive home because she and you were supposed to be connected.
Who was your mom?
Ann Randolph.
How is she? Tell Ann.
My 15-year-old brother, who doesn't look like the rest of us, is fine too. But.
Tell Ann jokeland at AOL.com. JOKELAND at AOL.com. That's unbelievable.
It was great. Literally 15 years old, no driver's license. Listen, son, why don't you drive yourself home? I'm going to.
What? But but she wasn't 15. Well, she was about 25, right?
Well,
he was 15.
Well, she would have been 32 at the time.
Wow. You have got to email me, dude. That's so much fun. Jokeland at AOL.com. You know, on my not on my birthday, but one year they had a girl come in on the Stern Show. And it wasn't quite April Fool's Day yet, right? Mm-hmm. And as an April Fool's stunt, the girl came in and she said, yeah, I'm from, Michigan, blah, 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 blah. And then finally they said, well, why are you here? And she said, Jackie's my father. He knocked up my mother when he was in college, and I knew I hadn't. But I 99.9% knew. But could it have happened? Dad! So what you're saying is you're my son?
What did he do? Hang up?
He hung up.
Oh, there he is. He's gone. No, he was 15 at the time, and his mom made him drive himself home as she hung around Garvin's with you.
I don't remember.
No.
I was being a liar. But I love for people to think I was getting some action back then. I was the dirty guy. By the end of the show, I was out of jokes and I'm full of beer,
Right.
Assault with a dead weapon, you know what I'm saying?
All right, we got to wrap this up. Who do we got next, Chris?
We have Noam Dworman and Esty Aderam, the Comedy Cellar.
Jackie, great to see you as always.
I love you for having me. I want to come back.
So great having you here.
Yeah.
Can I come back and see you
of course. Again? Jackie's performing at the Brokerage in Belmore, Long Island this Saturday and also June 8th at Parks Casino in PA. Go to jokeland.com, whether you want to just see some funny stuff or if your mom knew Jackie back in 1980. Perfect place to go.
That's so funny.
Jackie, good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennington.
Stay with the book, too, because these stories are great.
I will, and I thank you for the encouragement, and thanks for the plugs, and I love you guys.
We'll be right back. Bennington. We were honestly just saying that Jackie Martlin's Kinnison was pretty strong.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah. Even he could do the quiet voice, but isn't it hilarious to hear about Sam before anyone knew who he was, and just
getting
out of a van?
As in, like, you really have to think, what could anyone make of him? Even other comics were looking at him like,
this is frightening.
Yeah.
This is insane, and it's frightening, and we don't know how bad it's going to get. But I always like when you hear that somebody was cocky and confident before they became a star.
Right.
Those stories always crack me up. And, you know, it really just comes down to believing in the product, having the product. You know, no one believed in Tito Beveridge.
I know that's true, but you know what? He believed in himself.
Also, another Texas guy. There's something about, like, if there's any state that I'm saying I'm envious of, it's Texas. Because the Texans, there's a belief there.
And then on top of that, there's like the strength of that, and then like the unique weirdness of Austin. You put those two elements together, I feel like you've got a pretty interesting.
Well, do you think because there's so much sky, there's so much horizon that the dreams are bigger? Do you think that Tito Beveridge sat down there and looked out across the state of Texas and go, why can't I beat the Russians? Why can't I beat the Poles at their own game?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about any dream, the idea of like building your own distillery, it's an
insane dream.
Undertaking.
Yeah. By the way, that's an intense undertaking if you've got millions and millions of dollars. I'm going to start a vodka band. If someone said, how much money you have? And you say, oh, I have 25 million. They're going to go, you're going to go through it quick. He had no money.
No.
When he did this.
No, he put his own life savings into it. He racked up 19 credit cards. He put everything in to this micro distillery.
So it was win or die.
Exactly.
Win or die.
Exactly. And you know what? He won. He won the unanimous judge's choice double gold medal, the World Spirits Competition.
It's not easy.
He got a 95 rating from wine enthusiasts.
No, that's some high cotton there.
What about Chairman's Trophy, world's best vodka tonic? They took all the vodka tonics in the world. They said that one's the best.
That's weird because even I feel like I make a pretty good vodka tonic.
I know.
Here's my thing if you want to try it at home. I use less tonic than you would think. Very little tonic.
Like it's 75% less.
No, it's like a splash. Like a sneeze of, I go, just put a sneeze of tonic into that. And then I am screaming at the bartender, right? One night. I'm just like, last tonic. And then it dawns on me, I'm staring into a mirror, not out at a bar, not my house. And I'm just yelling, less tonic into a mirror.
That's scary.
That's why I don't think I have what Tito has, yet I want it, you know? I want to be part of that.
Tito still makes his vodka on the same land where he started it all, in Austin, Texas. Tito's handmade vodka is distilled from corn and is naturally gluten-free. Visit titosvodka.com for recipes, songs, and more, handcrafted to be savored responsibly.
Welcome back to the Bennington Show. It's time to jump into one of my favorite things to talk about on the air, and that's why things work the way they do. It's always fascinating to me to see the way something works, what people have done well, what may have been an accident, but then you have to be smart enough to see that accident works, so you create it, and it's all part of this.
Innovators of Entertainment, which is brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka, distilled
We all love the Comedy Cellar, but it's really, it'll be exciting to talk to Esty.
Well, yeah, we've had Noam on this show, and he's always in the pocket. He's got, and a real New York person. You know, I don't know if you could steal the concept for the Comedy Cellar and take it anywhere else. It's uniquely New York. It's uniquely the Village. Noam's father, Manny, had the presence of mind to understand not just comedy, but entertainers themselves. And then you won't meet a comedian who doesn't have a great thing to say about Esty. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love finding out who those personalities are who kind of run the show behind the scenes, but just have that reputation that everyone talks about her almost like a mother.
Well, yeah, you have that, but at the same time, you're telling people a lot of times what they don't want to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not going on exactly when you want. or you might not get exactly the same number of shows that you want. They're running so many shows now between the Cellar and the Underground that I don't know how she keeps it up, and apparently she does it all by hand. So even if you were looking at it just from that organizational part of view, it would be tough to pull off. But then you have these comedians who are both, rough, tough, and fragile and sensitive at the same time. You could hurt a comedian's feelings so quickly and, make a lifetime enemy. But they talk about Esty as if she doesn't just book them there, that they depend upon her for advice and stuff. It's a very interesting story. And by the way, sometimes that you don't see things that are in front of you for being as precious as they were. But let's look at CBGBs, which is still talked about. Mm-hmm. And the great names that came out of CBGBs, the Ramones, Blondies, Talking Heads, the list goes on. Now you turn around and look at the Comedy Cellar. They've been around longer, more consistent longer, and you could argue that bigger people have come out of the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah.
So when I sit around and I talk about the Comedy Cellar as being this unique place that people are going to talk about for a lot of time, a lot of people will be going like, what? Because it's the present. You don't understand it. Sometimes you need history to understand it. But this isn't even just a lot of times there was places like the Improv in LA or the Comedy Store in LA that kind of like, oh, there's going to be industry people watching me. I might get a sitcom if I do a good set. There's a whole different vibe at the Comedy Cellar when it's like these great comedians who go and just compete against themselves and the audience, but everybody wants to do well there.
Yeah.
I
like some of the best nights in comedy I've ever been to see live comedy have been at the Cellar. And I think part of it has to do with the intimacy of the room.
Right.
Part of it has to do with you're getting tons of really great, some of the best working comics today. And you're just getting kind of like a little taste of each of them. They kind of move in and out. I saw a taping of Louis there, which was a really incredible experience. I did not know that that's what was going to happen. Found out, just decided to get tickets there and found out that he was going to be taping a piece of his from the second season. It was, I always have a great time there.
Yeah, but another thing is the comedians respect the room.
Yeah.
The comedians, and it doesn't matter who you talk to, they're like, well, you want to go to this room and have a good set. You don't see a guy or a woman just throwing their set away that night. Again, it's a fascinating thing. I don't know if you could duplicate it. I'm interested to find out how much of this was done on purpose and how much of this just kind of evolved organically. You'll hear from different people, and I've heard David Tell say when he was the Cellar as a regular in like the early 90s, comedy went through one of those down things, so there wasn't big crowds. It's hard to even imagine now. Mm-hmm. It's hard to imagine that there was a time people didn't do well there. There's a great piece in Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair did a piece on the room where people like Jon Stewart were talking about when they played there, they stunk, but the club stayed with them. And you're like, wait, Jon Stewart is saying there's a time in his life when he stunk. Maybe, that's somewhat relative to who he is now, but I can't imagine.
No, it's hard to believe.
Yeah. But it's weird. Some people it takes a while to grow. Some people come in with their personality, and it's up to that club, that scene, if you will, to help develop. The comedians are developed by the audience. They're developed by the other comedians. They're developed by the club that they want to play at. There's a lot of things that go into this before suddenly you're as successful as Louis C.K. or Amy Schumer is. But what's also great? You go into that room, and you might see Attell, and you might see Amy. Hell, you could end up seeing Chris Rock. I mean, the list goes on of people that'll drop into there. But the people that you don't know are killers.
Yeah.
They're great.
And you will know within a very short time. Like, so many of the comics that I saw there within the next 2, 3, 4 years became household names, or just became really, really, honed their craft really well, and at least are known well in the stand-up scene. So it's like you're going to see fantastic people. It's almost exciting to see people that you don't know.
I agree with you,
those.
man, because you're getting to play that thing of I saw them before, and then you end up being a fan of those people. I know we got people listening to us in Canada and all across the country and around the world, but this is a uniquely New York experience. I always feel bad for the people who come to New York and someone stops them and says, I have, some passes to a comedy club, and you go to the wrong place. Yeah. There's a couple rooms that you want to hit. Most of them are downtown. Look into it a little bit before you come to New York. And we talk about why some of these people make it big in comedy. A lot of it has to do with their own talent, but it also has to do because they have a place to work out, like the Comedy Cellar. Let's welcome our guest to the show.
SD Aderam and Noam Dwarman from the Comedy Cellar. In studio with us is SD Aderam and Noam Dwarman from the Comedy Cellar. The Comedy Cellar is located at 117 McDougal Street in New York City, and it's open 7 nights a week. Go to comedycellar.com for reservations.
It is probably the most famous comedy club in the world. Good to see you again, Noam.
Hi, Ron.
I don't know a comedian who doesn't bring up SD's name. Now, Noam, this was your father had SD there for...
Well, I'll get SD started. SD was banging the accordion player in my father's Israeli band. And by the way, she hired, there's some comic working there now who plays the accordion, and I get creeped out every time I see him. There's some kind of sick accordion attraction that SD has.
So this wasn't a corporate decision that was made.
I read about that in a Tolstoy novel.
It's lost art, I'm telling you.
I'm sorry, say it again.
So I'm saying this isn't what we would normally think of as a business decision in the way all of this started, because the Cellar has always been somewhat lax in terms on how they treat the business, right?
Lax? What do you mean by lax?
Well, I mean, it's a relaxed atmosphere. Back when your father ran it, it was just a room the comedians came to. He had the extra room. So what I'm saying is a lot of people start a business with a business plan, an idea how they're going to...
Yeah, we kind of backed into it because, first of all, it wasn't our idea. Mm-hmm. It was an idea of this man, Bill Grunfest, who later went on to be the head writer of Mad About You. Mm-hmm. And then he did the booking for the first, I don't know, what was it, 6 years?
I don't know.
There's a microphone.
I really don't know how long.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But he was a comedian himself.
He was a comedian himself, yeah. And then when he left, SD was the hostessing at the time. She was doing the door. And when he left, how did it come? Come on, SD, how did it happen? How did you get picked to?
Well, Manny wanted to be hands-on when it came to the shows, and I was his person.
Right.
As opposed to when Bill did his own thing.
Right.
He had all the connections from college and Paul Reiser and Paul Provenza, all these guys that he knew.
Yeah.
Once he left, Manny wanted somebody that is his person.
Right.
And that was me. And with Manny, as it's actually with Noam as well, it's a quality first.
Right.
Money in business is a happy byproduct.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it didn't start as let's open and make money here. Mm-hmm. It was always about quality. It was always about to give the customer the best possible show, the best bang for the buck, so to speak. And it just, with time, we outlived everybody else. And the comics knew that we had their back, that we are not there to oversell liquor to make money. Actually, we limit people of how many drinks they can have. It's maximum 3 drinks.
I only found that out a short time ago when I was doing something at the Underground. I'm like, oh, we're running a little bit late. Somebody was showing up. And I was thinking before I did the interview, I didn't want the crowd to be too drunk. And they said, oh, don't worry.
Yeah.
We don't overserve. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That stunned me.
Yeah. Well, what it is, it's a comedy show. And while you watch the show, you can have a couple drinks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bar.
Right.
Okay. And this is good for the comics. It's good for us. It's been working out pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember many years ago, I had a meeting with Lucian from the comic strip.
Right.
And he told that to Lucian. Lucian's theory was, well, we can waive the cover, but we make the money on the drinks.
Yeah.
It was never the way many used to think. And the quality, as a result, we got a better quality of comics because they knew we had their back. We have security that will remove any drunks right away. Or if somebody comes in already drunk, we wouldn't let them in.
They're a little overzealous sometimes, though, because we had.
Yeah, I know. But
remove somebody with a speech impediment. But.
That's right. But that's the
still
philosophy.
digging ourselves out of that one.
That's the philosophy. If you ask me, how come it got to the point that all the comics want to work there, especially the good ones?
Yeah,
they know that we are there for them. Okay, nothing else, protect them. They do want to have audiences, and other audience members appreciate the fact that the next table is not really wasted.
Yeah.
That they get to see the show at its best.
Well, we were talking even very early on, you said you had people like Paul Provenza working the room. So, I mean, there's something, the location is already great. The room itself is a great room. So you set up this quality product, but you have incredible comedians who have walked in.
Let me correct you. The original room was not perfect for comedy.
No.
People came and walked by to go to the bathroom. We don't have the bathroom upstairs. The layout of the room wasn't difficult. However, if somebody does well in that room, it's almost a guarantee that they'll do well anywhere else.
Yeah.
The room is not an easy room to work. When it started, people used to say that all the time.
Wow.
It's not, But once you get over that hurdle of the layout and the bathroom and all of that, it makes the comics stronger, and they appreciate that.
Now, is there somebody, for either one of you two, do you know when you see a young comedian who's going to be a real Comedy Cellar comedian over the years, you're like, I see this person, and this is going to be the next, if we give them enough years, this could be a real breakthrough person?
And I do at times.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm surprised, but you can when you listen to the set, you can figure out the quality, the intelligence, and the reaction of the crowd. It's not a hocus pocus type of thing.
Yeah.
Do they react to that person? Does he connect with them? And we have now few people that started as young comics that became so strong that they are absolute, and they are going places.
Yeah. Well, that's always the thing. I think the thing that amazes tourists when they come in and go into this small room and end up seeing over the course of an evening 7-8 people that would be playing theaters.
Correct.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Anywhere else.
Some of the most phenomenal nights I've ever had watching comedy was at the Cellar. I saw Colin Quinn there. I've seen Dave Attell there.
By the way, both those guys are playing there tonight.
Yeah.
That's the
and that's how it was. It was, it was one after another. Louis C.K. was there. The first time I ever saw Amy Schumer was there. The first time I ever saw Gary Goldman. So there are always people there that you're excited to see, and then you're also
get to see the new ones.
Yeah.
I got to apologize for texting because it's so rude, but this is just how glamorous the life of a comedy owner is. I'm getting texted by the Neighborhood Block Association complaining about crowds on the street and crackheads. Literally complaining about crack. I got to give it to Liz. Complaining about crackheads on McDougal Street and garbage in front of the Cafe Wa. I don't know that, and I don't know, but it's so it's no fun. It's no fun.
Yeah,
you think it's fun? It's no fun.
Yeah, but you can't not have crowds in front of your place because people show up there. You know,
right?
Well, you know, I mean, I don't want to get political or anything like that, but you'd think that the most famous nightlife district in the world is probably Greenwich Village and McDougal Street.
Sure.
And but it doesn't work that way. You have a successful business and employ people, and you literally become public enemy number one, both to the government, to the mayor, to the neighbors who moved there when they were young and liked the idea of living in the village, and then and then of course we should be good neighbors, and I have a good relationship with the neighbors, and sometimes they're right. Sometimes we really drop the ball. But
for the most part,
for the most part, we drop the ball.
No, for the most part, you do take care of the crowd control. And listen, when you get the crackheads, they're just wandering around the village, just happen to come because there are people there, and they try to, you know.
But
it's really not.
We're quite
not our fault.
We're quite shocked on a daily basis on how difficult it is to run a business. You know, it's just never. It didn't used to be like this.
It didn't always. It wasn't always this way.
No.
What do you think changed things? When you think it got?
You know, things are incremental. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. Like Gulliver is tied down by 1,000 little strings, and each one is well intentioned and it has a good purpose behind it. But then you wake up 10 years later, and there's just a million different things and hoops you have to.
Well, money really came into the village, where it became a place that was an expensive place to live, because for 100 years that was the bohemian part of town.
Maybe you're right. Maybe, but these people who live there, many of them live in rent control apartments. Many of them have been there for a very long time. We're renovating our kitchen in the Olive Tree. Now, I keep saying they built the Empire State Building in 13 months. It's going to take us more than a year just to make the kitchen 6 feet wider. 2 months gets held up in the landmark committee.
Right.
By some old ladies on the landmark committee who have no qualifications. They're not elected. They're not architects, who have to decide whether they're okay with the plans that we present of how we're putting our new kitchen together. This is what it means.
And it's completely different from...
I sound like a Trump supporter. I'm not a Trump supporter. but that aspect of him reverberates very strongly with me.
Well, people can see you just want to be able to do the business. And when this has nothing even to do with the comedy portion of the business.
No.
That's the same thing that anybody who's running a restaurant has to deal with.
That's right.
Yeah.
Esty, was there ever anyone that you saw when they were young, you're like, no way is this person ever going to make it big? I'm sure.
Let me answer that for her. Yes, and there's no way she's going to say who it was.
I was about to say, do you really think I'm going to say it?
But I think some of those people would be amazed and get a kick out of the fact that they were able to beat the odds.
They won't be.
You know, as a matter of fact, you probably do know this. There's famous stories of people who became famous who, you know, when they were nobody, some booker made some comment to them that they didn't like, and they never forgave it.
They never forgave.
They never went back.
Yeah, they never go back.
Yeah.
Well, you've done this enough to know that you can't be sure how someone's going to grow. You know?
Not only that, it's you cannot disqualify or X somebody only because you think so.
Mm-hmm.
You might be wrong. You might be right. You know, to hurt somebody's feelings and ego and dreams, crush their dreams, because who am I to say that? Even if I don't,
You're a non-English speaking person judging comedy. That's who you are.
That's when I'm successful. That's when I'm successful. You're making him, you know, hit the table. He's laughing that hard. I don't know what that means. How to take it? How do I take it?
But I do think it's
it's really, I think it's a arrogance of a booker to say, I'll give you an example. Lucian told Daryl Hammond at the beginning of his career, you don't have what it takes. Give it up. Daryl told me that he never, ever went back to the comic strip.
Yeah.
And when we had the comedy boat ride, Lucian asked to be invited to the boat ride so he can talk to Daryl. He wouldn't have it.
Still wouldn't have it after all these
No,
years.
no.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. I would never in a million years say that. I would say, well, right now I have a lot of comics. Let's try again maybe in 6 months or next year. I would never nick somebody.
But what I now think is amazing is that you can't turn on late night TV without seeing people who didn't work out. I mean, on an every night basis. The biggest comedy stars in the world you saw when they probably didn't have a nickel in their pocket.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I never crushed them.
Yeah.
And when they got better, and I started using them, and the relationship developed, but they do remember.
Sure.
They do remember.
SD has a little love affair with all the famous comics, and they texting her about their personal lives. John Mayer, forget about the comedians. Texting her about his girlfriend's in trouble with Jessica Simpson.
Stop it.
Literally.
Stop it.
Sometimes when he was banging two or three at a time, SD was the only one who knew about it.
No, he's just trying to be funny.
They
I
really,
do have a relationship
She really
with them.
does.
Yeah.
I do have relationships, and I do have a personal relationship. They know that I don't open my mouth and blabber about it. I have their confidence.
Yeah.
And I pride myself in that.
But no, that's what makes the Cellar be like it's almost like a
family.
It's a family. It's like a movie, and it's the way that you want a New York club to be in your mind. If you're out in the middle of the country and you think, if I moved to New York, is there a place like this? You know, that maybe if I'm good enough, I could fit into. I think that's the most romantic thing about this.
Yeah, Judd Apatow said he felt the place was magical.
Yeah.
And, that's coming from him. Magical is a word used a lot, but coming from him, it meant a lot to me. And it is that. And I don't think anybody, there was nobody who conducted it or navigated it to be that way. It happened that way over time. And now it's just everybody comes there and hangs out, and they do their spots, and we all sit at the table and talk, and it's almost as if, and there is a business going on, but it's really, nobody's really focused on it. It's just a fun lifestyle for me, SD, Liz, our general manager, and the comics. Mm-hmm. And the audience gets to view it, and they enjoy it. And that's what goes on, right? Would you agree with that, SD?
Yes. Also, you have to remember the comics, really, what they are looking for is audiences. They want the people in the room.
Yeah.
And they get a better idea whether their stuff works, the material works.
Sure.
That's the only thing. And they are pretty much guaranteed every night of the week to have a full room. And it's not, it's a very mixed crowd. You have students, you have professionals, you have, it works. And so for people, for comics, desire to work at the Comedy Cellar is that.
Yeah.
Beyond the relationships and the food or whatever else.
Go out and do it.
Is to have a feedback, a very honest to goodness feedback. We don't paper the room ever. So when people sit in that room, it's the real deal.
Paper the room means, induce people to come with discount. He knows the listeners might. I know the listeners.
Okay. And so it's the real deal.
Yeah.
And basically that's what the comics are looking for.
You know, Tom Rhodes was in here not too long ago.
I love him.
And he's worked all over the world. And you had set him up, so he's in the Cellar, and he's running over the underground. He said he's going back and forth, and he's thinking of things in his head. And he goes, this is it. This is everything that I wanted. And he says, I've traveled the whole world. But that New York moment of running from one set to the next, and he said, just killing the room and having fun.
Yeah.
And he was pretty emotional talking about it.
Actually, Tom Rhodes, when he started at the Cellar, that's way before we had the underground, the Village Underground.
Yeah.
On his photographs on the wall, he wrote, "This is what a comedy club should be."
Right.
Thank you for being that smoke-filled jazz club of comedy that I dreamed about, something like that.
So he always had this, the love for the Comedy Cellar.
Right.
And now that we're bigger and we're spreading, and growing, we still try to keep that feeling that attracted him then.
Yeah.
And as busy as we are, we're still very intimate.
Yeah, it's still
very intimate room.
Yeah, it's a small room, and I don't think the fact that you can understand what it's like for a tourist to just see Dave Attell walk by them, brush past them on the way to that stage. It is.
Yeah, we take it a little bit for granted.
Yeah,
I
take
think.
it for granted. But
Can I mention one of the most? I didn't see it. I had to be honest, but one of the biggest buzzes we've had in a long time was the show that you did there with Rich and Bonnie.
Oh yeah,
which apparently was fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you have a good experience when you did it?
I have every time I go to the underground, I always have that feeling of what it must have felt like for, when Dylan was in the Village, when Miles Davis was in the Village. I mean, to me, that's a thing. And that room is just electric. We just have the best time there every time. But you feel a lot more like
part
you're
of the history.
Yeah, you're part of the history.
That's right.
And you're part of the river of New York City. And it's one of those places where the staff is just moving and it's humming and it's just it's fantastic.
It's basically his father and Noam both have this touch.
Yeah,
for the atmosphere. No, it's true. I remember when Manny was putting the lamps, the colorful lamps and everything, and the lighting and the sound and everything, little things that other clubs ignore.
Right.
Either that or have no clue.
Yeah.
Noam has his pulse on it. He knows exactly what to do. That creates the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is a huge, you will be surprised.
I have to say she's right.
Yeah. But it is subconscious. You don't know.
It's the customer doesn't know.
Right.
He does. He walks in. We go to another club. The first thing you say, oh, the light is awful. The sound is terrible. He becomes this critic. And he's right. Temperature matters. All those little things you need to put together to have an inviting, warm atmosphere. And of course, good shows. Noah and myself, we went to LA and we went to a few of the clubs there. And which one was it? The Improv? It felt like a cafeteria.
Esty, stop dissing all the other clubs. My God.
It's LA. It's LA.
She's our own little Donald Trump here. Yeah. Low energy. It was low energy, Esty.
It was low energy. No, but it affects the show.
Sure.
There was a comedian that we love, and it was just like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I think
so I just complimented you.
I feel bad to say negative things about other clubs. I know you don't.
That's why I said one about. I didn't say anything about clubs in New York, LA. They don't know. They don't hear me.
Right.
Well, that's what I think is so great that Louis does the opening to his show in something that it feels like a movie, but it's the real block. It's going down the real steps. You guys don't need to change anything because it's already set up it's a movie.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. But what's interesting about that, and you tell me if I'm saying something I should say, people think that we have this very close relationship with Louis. People sometimes ask if he's an investor or whatever it is. But the truth is, and it's kind of the secret to our success, we have a very cordial relationship with him, but we never, it doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah.
He does what he does for us because he loves the place. He never asks us for favors. We never ask him for favors. And we're just tremendously, it's a total, because we have no real deep relationship, it's a very pure expression on his part of how much he loves the place and how we're doing things well.
I remember when he started. I mean, we go way back with him and Attell and Bill Burr and all those guys were late nighters.
Yeah.
Food spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we used to have spots that were just for food at one time.
Yeah. And Judah Friedlander, all these guys were late nighters.
I think it's 7 years the Labor Department can't complain.
No, so the whole thing evolved to what it's now. It's not, when somebody says to me, how come all the comics now come and love you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's evolved from, in the even then, there was respect. There was,
Sure.
we couldn't book all those people. We did a documentary, so I pulled out some of my booking books from '93. I just pulled one.
Yeah.
And Chris Rock was in the olive tree, and I said, "Take a look." And I showed him my booking book. He was a late nighter,
and
I said, "See."
She used to rate them all 1 to 5 or something, or A to F.
A plus, A minus, B, whatever.
That's fascinating.
But that was then. Now, I guess with experience, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But those people have invested their time in this place. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's an emotional investment and their growth, and they come back and now they're big stars. And it's a great, great thing for them and us.
Sure.
I think that's very clear when you're in the audience, is that you are seeing people who are at their most comfortable. Like, you're seeing the comedian feel exactly at home, exactly where they want to be to work out new material. It's a really amazing experience to see that as an audience member.
Yeah, but Ray Romano. Yeah. I don't think, I am not guessing, I'm pretty sure he doesn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's what it started. He always started his set. That's where they all began.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of these guys feel that way.
Well, Chris Rock did it in his movie where he was, suddenly goes back to the Cellar and he has this moment of, oh, this is what comedy is supposed to be. For the comedians, this is Yankee Stadium, the way a ball player would think about Yankee Stadium.
I got thrown out of the theater on that scene because Esty wasn't there, and they showed it. So I took out my cell phone camera because I wanted to take a shot of the Comedy Cellar for Esty, and a big guy just yanked me out of my seat. And I still haven't seen the scene.
It's true. Is that right? It's true.
But here is a great scene.
But that's got to be amazing for you guys. Like you say, you know Chris.
It is.
Yeah. And if it was just Chris Rock, that would be. No, but it's everybody. 100 people. Yeah. I mean, I know it was.
Ray Romano wore on one of his episodes a Comedy Cellar T-shirt.
Right.
It's very flattering. It's a compliment. It feels good.
It is.
It really feels good.
Yeah. It is the living example of if you build it, they will come. It's really that. We just do everything right and try to do everything right. Then the rest takes care of itself.
We try. Yeah.
But just the thought of putting the art of comedy first and taking care of these young guys, knowing that sooner or later, some kid that came in there may be 5 years away from being Amy Schumer. And it was just 2 or 3 years ago that Amy were like, oh, we hope this little TV show works out for her.
Yeah.
She's such,
Can I tell you that thing about, first of all, we're not big connoisseurs or
I am.
or even appreciators in a sense of the art of comedy.
Yeah.
We like comedy, but we're not. That's not. Neither of us grew up dying to do comedy. But it's always puzzling to me that if you're going to sell steak or you're going to sell pizza or whatever it is, you try to make sure you have the best pizza and you make sure it's presented in a way. It's a product. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to sound vulgar about it or whatever it is, but I'm just saying I'm shocked at how people appreciate us respecting the art of comedy, and other clubs don't seem to actually. And I say, well, doesn't every businessman respect the product that he's selling and want to do it justice so that he can be successful? But apparently that's not that common. But it's no different for comedy than any other item.
Yeah. Well, I have a very...
I sound really like a Jewish merchant when I say that.
No, there's a simple
I think they get
truth.
it, but it's true.
It's not doing things
I do
properly.
Yeah, but I personally have a great love for comedians.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're very, very special people. They are above average intelligence. You have to think on your feet.
She's throwing me under the bus now. I was making a point. I love comedians too, SD.
No, I do. But you looking at it as a whole. I look at the individuals a little bit more. You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is, if I was presenting a genre of music that I actually detested, people would still think, "Oh my God, he really respects that genre of music." I wouldn't, because I would only do it in the best way to present that genre of music. It's not my personal feeling that makes it go that way. You have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
But then Esty is also saying that she looks at Gary Goldman as an individual, different than the other comedians, and she's going to check in on him to make sure that he's okay.
Yeah. And there are some comics that I would text them. Are you around? Are you know, I try to be there a little bit more, let them feel more personal.
Yeah.
As opposed to, okay, you know.
You fill out the books by hand to this day, right? And you're doing it for both clubs. Do you run into things where somebody's going, I'm not getting the stage time?
Absolutely.
It's just, that's a constant.
That's where I go to Noam. That's where
It's funny you say that, because I had a lot of sympathy at first for Hillary Clinton and her whole email scandal. And I said, Esty, you know, we couldn't do our weekly booking of the Comedy Cellar if all our communication had to become public and a freedom of information. How can you be Secretary of State and know that your emails and your communications are going to be made public, you know? So I had some sympathy, because it's all very radioactive. I mean, the kind of stuff, the decisions that we have to make, there's no way to explain it to them. No one's going to accept it.
Yeah. But I do. I don't have enough spots. I'll go and I start crying to Noam, and he creates new shows. So
that was part of it.
That's true. And I said, hey, listen, you thought last week was bad. Hey, take a look what I'm dealing with this week.
She didn't have a spot for Natterman one week, and I created a whole new show for her.
It's the 7 a.m. breakfast show.
But
with
it's
Dan Natterman.
really, really true.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, you know, if you mentioned the Yankees, he has too many pitchers, good pitchers.
Right.
Good problem to have. Yeah. I have great comics, a lot of them. What do I do? And if I don't give it, I right away get the email. What happened? How come I don't have anything this week?
We're going to open another room.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Yes.
For that reason. The room upstairs where Robert Kelly did the live podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That lounge. I think we're going to turn that into a comedy room, because we don't have enough spots.
So is that going to be specifically for younger people, or do you work your way from one room to the other?
You know,
you never know.
I am very open to suggestions and ideas if you have any, because I don't have a firm idea in my mind what that room should be. I told Essie, I'm tempted to have it a room which doesn't even announce a lineup, and just have it as a less expensive room where you never know who's going to show up.
Sure.
And can be very informal, which would appeal to me as an audience member, but that may just be, Essie's nodding her head. Why not?
Because I think it opens yourself to chaos.
Yeah.
It's got to be a show. Maybe different from what you have now, but we'll talk about it. It's not
I would like to create something special and something different.
Something a little more alternative, because...
No.
You don't like alternative at all.
I don't like the word alternative. Yeah. Comedy is comedy. Alternative usually is not funny.
Yeah.
That's why they call it alternative.
She's right, but I still am tempted to that, because there are some big talents in that world, and
that wouldn't fit into the normal time slots that you offer.
That wouldn't fit in, and I respect the fact that there is a big audience for that who enjoys it. And like, there's a guy, Sean Patton. You know Sean Patton?
Sure.
We use him now in the Cellar, but it was a while before. But he's an alternative comic, and he's really, I think, quite brilliant. And I would like a room. Esty likes him too. And also as a creative challenge, I'd like to try to create something slightly different.
I like to make him laugh.
He's always ready. Well, this is what I think is great. All this work gets done to do it perfectly and to get the book together. And then if Dave Chappelle just happens to come walking in at night, everything, that's... everything blows up.
He smoked weed on the stage.
Well, I've told you this before, Noam. I think people are going, in the history of New York, people are going to look at this era, this club, as being one of those special times that sometimes it's hard to believe that you're living through it, but all you have to do is look over the lineups that you've had over the years.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You think it'll last?
I think that there's something different now because of the internet and people. I think people pay more attention now to comedy than at any other time. These specific comedians that they'll follow. Like, you don't have one person who doesn't have their own kind of following online. So
we have one, but I'm not going to mention his name. I'll tell you off. Go ahead.
It starts to become that million points of light instead of one big light. And it does feel like the beginning of a really magical time. But you guys are right in the spokes of it. When Esty was talking about her books, I'm like, those things could end up in the Smithsonian one day. These names of what they brought people over the years. It's just phenomenal.
I worry that, you have a lot of 3 or 4 or 5 really, really special talents in comedy, like Louis and Chris and, who kind of all came to their own around now. And is that creating a golden era of comedy, or will it always be like, would the folk rock craze in the 60s have happened if Bob Dylan had not come to New York?
Right.
It wasn't destined to happen. It might have never happened. And how much of this was going on is really just the luck of these magical people at this time, and how much of it is a life of its own.
But the difference is Bob Dylan left to move on and do other things, and Louis stayed here, and rock still lives here.
Right, but is it interest in comedy, or is it interest in these
special
that's
people
being really
you have new
thrust
people
forward?
coming up that are they are getting as big. Here this weekend I have Michael Che.
Right, Michael Che, brilliant.
Crazy about this guy.
Yeah.
I am absolutely his comedy, his intelligence, his personality, character, whatever.
Yeah.
There's people that coming out. There's a Michelle Wolf.
Yes.
She's phenomenal.
She's brand new here.
And you
have Hannibal, and you have so many, and they keep coming and coming. And these people are extraordinary.
Yeah.
They are really special. So that's why I am a little bit more optimistic about comedy, only because these guys keep coming up.
Gail, you and I were talking that there's no other art form, but it feels like there's classes in New York. Like, you meet the seniors are here, but you meet the new freshmen, and you're like, I'll see people that can't even get into any of the clubs that they're doing these bar nights. And I'm like, I think this kid is just like 3-4 years away from something really special happening.
I never look at it that way, though.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens 3-4 years from now. I care about
Tonight.
now.
Right.
And there are certain people that would call me and say, I want to recommend so and so.
Yeah.
And depending who that person is, I'll take the advice. I'll take a look. And that's how we got Michelle. Hannibal recommended her.
Yeah.
Michelle Wolf. And I'm telling you, she's phenomenal. She's smart. She's just wonderful. And so it keeps coming, it's the well, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
It is a phenomenal thing that you guys do, where instead of having an open mic thing, if David Tell says, look, I worked with this person, I know they're there,
correct,
you're going to take a look.
Absolutely.
If you respect that comedian.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, we'll take a look. We take a look. People email me, how do I send me a YouTube link? We look at that too. You never know.
Years ago, it used to be that a comic that works the Comedy Cellar would recommend somebody. I needed 2 people to recommend and take a look at the DVD. Mm-hmm. That's how long ago it was.
Right.
Now with YouTube.
VHS.
That's right. And now with YouTube, I just, I can see right away their work, and it's much easier, much faster. And if I think that person's going to be okay, I'll invite them for a live audition. I want to see how they are on stage.
Yeah.
And then take it from there. And But if I get a recommendation from somebody that I know they're not gonna give me somebody just because they're doing that, I always ask, are you doing them a favor or me?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
What I mean?
That's great. Yeah.
It is, because sometimes they have an opening act when they're on the road,
Right.
and they're trying to do something nice for them, and they say, okay, take a look. And then I am left holding the bag.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I rather ask them who the favor is where. And that's how we find new people.
It is a funny problem there, because sometimes somebody will go out on the road, they'll have an opening act, they're eating 3 meals a day together, they're hanging, and they form this really weird, close relationship that might not exist again in their lives.
Exactly. And then they put it on me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a fascinating story. Seriously, this could be 2 books and a movie and a TV show. It's truly one of the most interesting things happening in the world of art. So I hope we do this again sometime.
Okay,
you guys will come
good.
by. I'd love to come by, because the story changes all the time. But it was great to see you again.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time. Coming through.
This has been Innovators of Entertainment, which is brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Distilled 6 times from 100% corn and naturally gluten-free. Come visit us at titosvodka.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evening is over. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you all again in 1974. Good evening!